At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
We've made it to a football Friday where every weekend between now and February, we will have football games to watch, football games to talk about. The great Karl Ravech will join us in 20 minutes from now. Get some baseball insight as well. But let's get straight to the gridiron, why don't we? It was a terrible, rotten, dreadful day for the Atlanta Falcons. Substitute whichever synonym you want for bad, and it fits, because no team had a worse day than Atlanta did. Starting with the preseason opener, an unmitigated disaster. Offensively, Tua Tagovailoa got the start, fumbled the second snap. That led to a 3-and-out. On his second and final drive, it was 5-and-out, 5 plays and out. The O-line gave him no time to throw. It didn't go well. Defensively, the Falcons starters allowed Denver to score a touchdown on the opening series. Jarrett Stidham was at quarterback, of course. Bo Nix coming back from the injury, not playing in preseason in all likelihood. When Stidham left the game, Denver was leading 24-0 at halftime. The Broncos had rolled 212 yards of offense on its first 4 drives. The game ended 27-7, and to add insult to injury, Atlanta's old rival, Sean Payton, formerly the Saints coach, now with Denver, he was cracking jokes about Falcons fans, or the lack thereof, in the ATL.
And, yeah.
Coach, thank you. We know you win here in Atlanta, and it looks like you're going to continue that streak.
People dressed up as empty seats today, so anyway.
Thanks, Coach.
A lot of people dressed up as empty seats today. So it could not have gone worse in the preseason opener for Atlanta. But the worst news was earlier in the day with edge rusher James Pierce Jr. being hit with an 8-game suspension. This stems from a domestic violence arrest in February. He's not going to appeal the 8-game suspension. The ruling is final. For those who don't know, James Pierce Jr. led Atlanta with 10.5 sacks. And to go a step further, he had 5 more sacks than the next closest rookie in the league. Do you want to know who that rookie that was second on the list? His fellow teammate, his fellow edge rusher, his fellow first-round pick, Jalen Walker. So at least you got him, right? Wrong. Jalen Walker, earlier this week, lost to the season with an ACL tear, which means the Falcons are down their top 2 edge rushers for the first 8 weeks of the season, and in Walker's case, for the entire year. So where do you go for positivity if you're Atlanta? There is good news. The Falcons pair in the NFC South, a division they finished in a 3-way tie for first place last year at 8-9. That division continues to look very gettable. And if Tua is not the answer at quarterback, Michael Penix Jr., he's close to returning to practice. You can mock the options, but you'd certainly take either of those guys over Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush, who had 2 interceptions tonight, including a pick 6. Also, don't forget that Kevin Stefanski won 2 NFL Coach of the Year awards with the Browns. He won a playoff game for the Browns. Kevin Stefanski is an upgraded head coach over Raheem Morris. Tommy Rees is an upgraded offensive coordinator over Zach Robinson. And the management can't be much worse than what Terry Fontenot did. So brighter days are ahead for Atlanta. Certainly a lot brighter days than the very, very, very bad day this was for the Atlanta Falcons. This segment sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting small businesses with affordable coverage options. Get a quote today at progressivecommercial.com. Denton Day is the producer of this program. We've got Jude getting warm. He's in the pen, ready to go for Free For All Friday at the start of next hour, where you get to steer the ship 1 hour a week each week. A lot of phone calls, and he's ready to go. If you want in right now, the question that we're asking amid all these preseason games, on a scale of 1 to 10, how locked in are you on preseason this week? Whether it was your team playing last night, tonight, or tomorrow, scale of 1 to 10, how locked in are you on preseason this weekend? You could even chime in on YouTube at Westwood One Sports Night, where we're streaming video in addition to the audio feeds on 300 radio stations across the country and in Canada. You could just tell us what the number is in the chat. You can find us on X, where we're streaming at Westwood One Sports' account. Make sure to follow us there. More than 20+ thousand followers on that account and growing. So however and wherever you're listening or watching, greatly appreciate that. The great Karl Ravech will be joining us to talk baseball in about 15 minutes. In terms of what we're most excited to watch this weekend, the Cleveland Browns are easily the main event. This weekend sports slate, 1 o'clock Eastern time, Browns at Bears. That is top billing, because we finally get to see the quarterback competition in a live setting. Deshaun Watson's going to start this weekend in Chicago. Shedeur Sanders is going to work with the ones in next week's game against the Buffalo Bills. But while both are in action tomorrow, you should expect every snap they take is going to be heavily scrutinized. And this tape's more meaningful than practice snaps. But don't just take that from me. Here was Browns coach Todd Monken when our guy Linnell Willingham asked him about the difference in meaning and significance and weight in preseason action versus practice snaps.
Well, it's the next step. You have to put some amount on it. It's the closest thing where the quarterbacks understand they can get hit. I mean, no matter how much you're in practice and they feel the rush, I mean, they're not getting hit. I mean, it'll change in a hurry, no matter who's out in front of you, you know, in terms of their understanding of, and when you're trying to stack plays, it's easier to really evaluate how you do per drive, not per play, because you just go to the next play, right? You're moving the football. How are we converting? You understand the issues with lost yardage plays and turnovers. So it's the closest thing we're going to have is the preseason games.
Yeah. So there's Todd Monken, and he's talking about the closest thing you're going to get. It's live action where you can take hits, and it's totally different than what you see in practice. And it's really smart how he spelled that out to Linnell during Nell's training camp tour, talking about, hey, there's a difference between series and moving the ball and all these things that we just kind of take for granted and don't think about too deeply because we're not football coaches like Todd Monken is. But it matters. And you get to see it up close with Deshaun and if you don't believe that the exposure of these preseason games make a huge difference, think about last year, how much public perception shifted for Shedeur Sanders after the big game he had against the Carolina Panthers in the first preseason game a year ago. It changed so much. He had the big game there, and then suddenly you had the Nike campaign, and you had him doing the watch thing, all of it. The quarterback battle should be decided in the next 8 days. That's the sample. The next 8 days, the quarterback battle should be decided. It's this preseason game in Chicago, then the joint practice with the Bills, and then next Saturday's game in Cleveland against Buffalo. That should be all the sample that Monken needs in order to make a decision here. If Cleveland doesn't know who its starting quarterback is going into the final preseason game, they've got issues. Either it's a really good issue, wow, we got two great options, or it's a bad one because we just can't decide between these guys because nobody is separated. As we have reiterated, frankly, since the spring, Todd Monken should simply play the player who is performing the best at practice. On shows such as this one. This thing on? Yeah, got it? On shows such as this, it's so easy to focus so much on the ancillary parts, on the side stories and angles. Think about the butts and seats with Shedeur and what the fans want. And think about his age and Deshaun. Think about how ugly some of the stuff in his background is. And, it's time to turn the page with the new head coaching. Or you got to play Deshaun because look how much money's invested in him. And clearly that's what the Haslams want. And yada, 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 yada. If you're Todd Monken, you just make it simple. Hey, who's playing better? Who's playing better in the preseason games? Who's playing better at practice? Yeah, that's the guy we're going to play. The thing that gets overlooked quite a bit this time of year, especially when you're talking about teams rebuilding, is that on NFL rosters everywhere, including the bad teams, 50% of rosters are guys that do not know where they're going to be playing their football next year. Either this might be it, or they might be playing somewhere else in a year. They're mercenaries. So the idea that they're going to be cool with the most important position being somebody they see at practice, not being the better guy, No. This is their livelihood, and you owe it to those players to honor the season. Whether you're a team that's supposed to be bad, like the Arizona Cardinals, or certainly the teams that are supposed to be really good. So if you're Todd Monken and you're trying to set the culture of, hey, we're expecting to win in Cleveland, you play, period, the player who performs best in these preseason games, performs best at practice. And let's hope that one of them is going to separate. And by the way, the quarterback battle isn't the only reason Cleveland is the main event this weekend. Based on reports at practice, rookie receiver Denzel Boston has been an absolute revelation. He's a second-round draft pick that's already getting work with the first team. Remember, Cleveland also drafted receiver Casey Concepcion in the first round. Casey had a shoulder injury earlier in camp. Hope that he's doing okay. We'll also get our first look at the new-look defense without Myles Garrett. That includes rusher Jared Verse, who came back to Cleveland in that L.A. deal. And going back to quarterbacks, well, this is just a personal interest for yours truly. We get to see, hopefully, late-round draft pick Taylon Green at some point. Freak athlete out of Arkansas. D-Day probably could relate to this. Did we have this conversation, didn't they? Talking about your personal crushes watching college football. Like guys that you're just, might not play for the best team, but man, I love watching that dude play. And Taylon Green the last 2 years at Arkansas was that guy for me. I never could quit Taylon Green. Don't know if you had a player that qualified.
You went silly for Taylon Green.
Exactly.
That's a fact.
It's true. It's true. Don't regret it either. So that's just another reason why. Going to be locked in from first snap through the fourth quarter. Hey, you might even see some Dylan Gabriel as well. if that floats your boat. Browns, 1 o'clock kick in Chicago. Just enjoy the last few years of Soldier Field or the Bears being in Chicago. That's another piece too. Might be a touchy subject to the folks in the Windy City. That's the main event on this weekend sports slate. Karl Ravech's status with ESPN has been in the news over the last few weeks. He'll give his first public comments on that with us. Plus, more importantly, we'll talk some baseball. It's a Westwood One version of baseball tonight with Karl Ravech joining the show next.
The Jonas Brothers will be going down under, performing halftime for Rams 49ers in Australia. Will Aaron Donald be on the field, making Kyle Shanahan call SOS? This is an SOS. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Westwood One Sports Night. Here's Josh Graham.
Oh, Karl Ravech for his 3 decades plus at ESPN. All play-by-play. Baseball tonight. All the sports centers hosted. Which is why we're glad to have Karl with us here on Westwood One Sports Night. And let's actually start with the question we posed at the start of the show. Scale of 1 to 10, Karl, how attentive do you plan to be preseason football this weekend or just in general?
That's a good question. I would say minimally. I've never been one to sort of lean into the NFL kitchen over 33 years at ESPN. I mean, we did Sports Center for so many years. I'll be honest, I grew up in New England, and I was a Patriots fan. When the Patriots fans had quarterbacks like Steve Brogan and Tony Eason, and we're not a very good team. I obviously have lived in Connecticut for many years, so have lived through the Brady years, but back at old Foxborough Stadium, we were in section 207 sitting on metal benches and hoping that John Smith would kick a few field goals and we would win games 6-3. We relied on Hog Hanna, Minnie Mac Heron. We had some good quarterbacks. We had a couple of good receivers, but we were definitely there in the weaker times of what's become a dynasty in football with the Patriots. And so I would say from a distance, what I observed, we got Little League. We're in the middle still of Major League Baseball pennant races. So I've always leaned that direction this time of year.
And while we're looking at the calendar, next week, you're going to be calling the Little League World Series that begins next week in Williamsport, of course, for ESPN. Your voice is long associated with that event, plus College World Series in Omaha, which we carry as well here at Westwood One Sports, Major League Baseball.
Sure. Yeah.
Given you get to see the state of baseball up close, grassroots, collegiate, and professional levels, How would you describe the overall health of baseball in America? Or do you notice differences between what that is today versus, say, 33 years ago?
Well, I think everything's different than it was 33 years ago when I started at ESPN, and ESPN was the only game in town. So that's different. The way that sports are covered is different. As a result, there's greater exposure for more sports. So I think the world has changed, obviously, a great deal in 33 years. I would say, to answer your question regarding baseball, the elephant in the room is, of course, the upcoming labor negotiations. Short of those being a thing, I think baseball is at its best point that it's ever been as far as participation, as far as competition, as far as athleticism. I think where baseball is different than it was 30 years ago, let alone 50 years ago, is to my point, you have all these different outlets broadcasting every football game that's on in America, every basketball game that's on. So baseball was once the number one sport, obviously, in America, and it's no longer the case. But those that follow the sport and love the sport would look at the sport and think at the youth level, the participation is off the charts, the ability level is off the charts, and we'll see that in Williamsport on ESPN next week. The college game has never been stronger or deeper. The money that's going to be afforded to college baseball players means you're going to have the best college baseball teams you would likely ever have over the next couple of years or until something dramatically changes in the world of NIL and transfer portal, et cetera. And you could make the case that the Major League game, notwithstanding a labor situation, is in the best shape it's been because the players are better than they've ever been collectively. Doesn't mean you don't have standouts like Bonds, and just over the generations of the Mantles and the greatest baseball players of all time, Willie Mays. But collectively, I think baseball is as talented as it's ever been.
You noted a lot of the differences between now and the mid-90s. Obviously, you had the lockout in 1994 and the canceled World Series. That's so far removed for some that they don't remember it at all. What you're going to hear the owners say that so much has changed that you need to do something different, a la implement a salary cap or something similar to it. What lessons do you think as somebody who experienced it and watched it up close could be taken from the 94 lockout going into this December?
Yeah, I certainly remember chasing Paul Beeston of the Blue Jays around the streets of New York City and trying to understand if one of the attorneys whose last name was Ravech was in some way related to me. He was Richard Ravech. I actually had an uncle, Richard Ravech, but that Ravech spelled his name differently than we did, so there was no relation. That's where I really got to know Rob Manfred. Our relationship since 1994 has been a very good relationship. What's changed? Good question. I think the tenets of what the owners want is to have somebody else or some mechanism provide them self-control. They don't do a good job of policing themselves, and you have teams that clearly have bigger bank accounts, bigger safes than others, and as a result can spend more money. And it's quite clear that a luxury tax, no matter how penal that it is up to now, is strong enough to prevent the Dodgers or the Mets or whoever you may want to put in that particular year. But it tends to be the same teams. The Yankees are generally there. The Red Sox flirting by going above it. So none of those things have changed. You have an ownership group that wants to control their spending, and as a result, have a salary cap. And you have players who seemingly will have that as the hill they die on and not to have one. So in a lot of ways, nothing's changed. I think the rhetoric is very similar. You hear an ownership group saying, we need a cap, and you hear a player group saying, we'll never have a cap. How does this year play out? My sense is there'll be a floor, which we've never had before, and perhaps maybe a greater punishment at the top for exceeding a threshold, meaning a tax. I don't know that a salary cap by its own definition or using those words will be the final result. But I think that the resolution will involve a floor and a sort of a soft cap, meaning maybe greater penalties as to what they already have, even though some teams may just blow right through it.
Karl Ravech is with us here. To a topic that we got earlier today. Major League Baseball announced pushing ahead to 2028 that the San Francisco Giants at Oracle Park will be hosting the All-Star game that summer. And actually, we're leading a campaign for something to happen in the summer of 2028 that I'm interested if you would support. This week, we got another Field of Dreams game out in Iowa. We think in 2028, it's time for the 40-year anniversary of Bull Durham as a North Carolina native to see a Bull Durham game in Durham, North Carolina. Get the Tampa Bay Rays outfitted as their AAA affiliate, the Durham Bulls. Host a specialty game in Durham. Bull Durham night does Karl Ravech endorse?
1,000%. Karl Ravech once acted as Kevin Costner and gave the entire speech to Susan Sarandon in a Baseball Tonight commercial. Yes, I certainly endorse that. And I will say that Major League Baseball has been very willing to take their act on the road. I mean, I have covered several games, military bases. I was over in Korea when we went to a military base for the Korea Games, which were played over there. Major League Baseball has been very good, and Rob has certainly listened to his people, and he's come up with some of these ideas of moving games around. So yes, I do believe in the smell of a woman or the small of a woman's back and all of those things. And all the books that were written that Susan Sarandon and Nuke and Meat, all of it. Yes, have a game in Durham, North Carolina. And I'm all about the Rays being there.
Got to do what's best for the ball club. In this case, do what's best for baseball. 40-year anniversary of Bull Durham. It's great to have you on video because I'm just assuming at any moment, Karl Ravech, that we're going to see paparazzi jumping out of your plants or like popping out at some point. I just got to go as a sportscaster. What's it like to have your professional status with the ESPN become news, like a news item the last few weeks? What's that been like?
That's been surreal. I mean, I haven't really commented on it much. I think it's sort of apparent what's happened there. I certainly have literally no ill will to a company that's provided me with a life that has exceeded any expectation I had coming out of Needham High School or Ithaca College and the experiences I've had. But there's no question to read about these things has been surreal. I will say this, Judge. I think the most surreal part has been the notes of gratitude, the sort of notes of frustration that I've received in the process. All of those things when you're doing what we do, you never ever think about the impact that you've had on people. And I've been reminded if a 10-year-old started watching baseball tonight, they're 43 years old now. When this career at ESPN seemingly is coming to an end. That means they've gone through puberty. They went through high school, college. There's a chance that they have gotten married and have children. So none of those things that you are thinking about while you're doing the job, and I've been overwhelmed by the support. And the career doesn't happen, without the viewer, without the consumer. So I'm incredibly grateful for the fact that all of these people have willingly let me into their rooms. And we would joke because baseball tonight was on in the East at 10 midnight. You've also let us into your bedrooms. I mean, you're in bed watching this show and being put to sleep by it. So in a lot of ways, it's a very intimate relationship when you're not thinking about that because you're sitting in a studio with Harold Reynolds or John Kruk or Peter Gammons or any of the other 100 analysts that you sat next to. So I'll be honest with you, that part has been so overwhelming and gratifying and heartwarming. That's really the sort of overriding emotion that I have at this point. And can't wait to get to the Little League World Series because it's obviously the event that I think most people associate me with. At least it's got a baseball in it, and they know it's long been my favorite event for every reason people love the game of baseball. That is why I love the game of baseball. It's represented in the Little Leaguers, and to get a chance to do it one more time and to share that with all the people that watch and the people who work with me, I couldn't ask for a more welcome opportunity.
We're just gracious to have you, Karl. Thank you so much for doing it. And we look forward to watching you in Williamsport and hope to visit with you more often here at Westwood One as well. Karl Ravech, really do appreciate the time.
Thanks very much for having me. We look forward to doing it again.
You got it. There goes Karl Ravech, kind enough to be here with us, our version of baseball tonight here on this Football Friday. Otherwise, we'll circle back to the NFL shortly. On a scale of 1 to 10, how locked in are you on preseason football, week 1 preseason football? 310-840-4910. Denton Day's got his left hand up. The Commanders getting a preseason win against the Miami Dolphins tonight. We'll hit on some of the other action as well. Bad night to be an Atlanta Falcons fan. Good night to be a Denver Broncos fan. If you just worry about not the result, but how your team looks. Scale of 1 to 10. How locked in are you on the preseason this weekend? 310-840-4910. Free for All Friday is where you get to steer the ship in whatever direction you please. 1 hour a week each week. That's at the top of next hour. Mr. Positive won last week's Caller of the Week with this call on Free for All Friday.
My warriors, as I explode through your radio dial and take you to a realm where there are no boundaries beyond your mind, body, and soul. Remember, believe in yourself and never let go. You'll reach the next level, a higher plateau. Boom, shakalaka. Warriors, as the night descends upon you, as you're lying in bed, looking into the darkness, what are you thinking? I need you to think about your life, your dreams, your goals, your girlfriend, your boyfriend. Make the world a better place. I know you can. You are the one, the only. You are unique. Boom, shakalaka, yo.
I think it was the positive at the end that did it, D-Day. I think that was the clincher, and also the remember, just because he's a frequent caller doesn't mean he can't bring it. Yeah. There's no doubt. He brought the remix. Make sure if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel, to the podcast, searching Westwood One Sports Nights, where you can find stuff. In case you missed Karl Ravech joining us, you can find that conversation there and a lot of our other stuff. Heck, I think what we were just talking about with the Falcons already up there as well. 310-840-4910 if you want, and that's the ticket to Free for All Friday at the top of next hour. The best way to help us: like, comment, subscribe. We see you guys on the chat. See Underground writing in, saying he hopes that the Falcons don't get it together. You could chime in so many different ways, however, and wherever you're listening or watching. Greatly appreciate that. Don't forget about the audio podcast as well on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Just search Westwood One Sports Night. There is an NFL preseason game that you might not think is super compelling this weekend, but we're telling you, you need to keep an eye on this game. And we'll tell you which game that is next on Westwood One Sports Night.
There's still 2 QB battles ongoing. In Cleveland, it's Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders. And Atlanta's between Tua Tagovailoa or Michael Penix Jr. When the starter's named, we'll let you know. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
is Westwood One Sports Night. Here's Josh Graham.
Westwood One Sports Night is about to jump up a notch. 20 minutes from now, free-for-all Friday. Your chance to steer the ship in whatever direction you please. 1 hour a week, each week. It just might be the highlight of our week. There is a preseason game that at face value you might say, don't care. But we're telling you, and you should hear us out, Bills-Panthers, sneaky, fun preseason watch, 1 o'clock Eastern in Buffalo. Hear us out. Josh Allen's going to be getting the start for Buffalo. He's easily the best quarterback to get preseason reps this week. Matthew Stafford, Drake May sitting out last night. Neither Lamar Jackson nor Patrick Mahomes expected to play tomorrow. We're going to get our first look at Allen with his new toy, DJ Moore. Joe Brady has said that all the Bills' healthy starters are going to go in this game. And to add to the appeal, Panthers head coach Dave Canales says that Carolina is going to play all their starters. Apparently, Bryce Young has quietly had his best training camp as a pro. So it'll be interesting to see him too. Going to make our way out as a show to the Carolina Panthers training camp when they have the Houston Texans in for joint practice in a couple of weeks. So we look forward to that. But putting the football piece aside with Bills-Panthers, the main attraction for Saturday, for tomorrow's game, is the stadium itself. This is the first ticketed event in the history of the Bills' $2 billion stadium, Highmark Stadium, the new Highmark Stadium. The home opener is going to be against the Detroit Lions, Thursday Night Football, Week 2. You can listen to that game on Westwood One. Last weekend, the Bills welcomed season ticket holders to a practice, and the first impressions of Highmark Stadium, they were about as bad as we've ever seen for a new stadium. Like usually when the new stadiums are unveiled, you have people saying, wow, look at that. Whoa, didn't think you could do that. With the Bills Stadium, it's obstructed sight lines. It's a comically small jumbotron. You literally had the architect of the stadium jumping on local talk shows in Buffalo to do damage control. You know it's bad when that's the case. You know it's bad when the team is announcing that they're going to try to make these fixes in time for that home opener against the Detroit Lions in Week 2. If the Buffalo Bills had any sense of humor, they would wear the new alternate uniforms tomorrow. Because the only thing the internet has disliked more than the stadium and all the features inside of it are these gray Nickel City alternates. In fact, we have this clip. The reaction was so strong from Buffalo fans, from the internet, that Josh Allen, unprompted earlier in camp, said this.
And stop hating on the jerseys, guys. I don't know if you guys are hating. I don't know. I don't see anything, but they're great. I honestly like. Speaking of new, right? It's a new look. It is. I understand that, but we gotta be new.
Did he just try to say that he didn't see the stuff on social media? Hey guys, stop hating on the jerseys. Or D-Day. Was this Josh Allen sincerely not seeing the hate on the internet, but somebody with the Bills said, hey, if you could, Josh, could you mention that the jerseys are pretty sick?
There's no way Josh Allen is a social media scroller. He's too rich. His wife's too bad. He got a kid. He ain't scrolling social media. He might pay for somebody to scroll it for him, but he got too many things going for him.
The jerseys. This might be the hot take. The jerseys and the pants, they're fine. The jerseys and the pants, they're fine. It's the helmets. It's the helmet that leaves you wanting more in that jersey or in that uniform combo. Like if the Bills just wore their normal helmets with those jerseys or with those uniforms, I think it might look fine. But just having like the red piece connect on the back kind of looks like a futuristic Tron type of helmet. Not great. But it is evidence that people just like complaining about stuff sometimes. It's important to remember that, particularly on the internet. Now, not in our chat on Westwood One Sports Night on YouTube. Now, everybody just has the nicest things to say there. That's why we love every single one of you. But think about just the complaints we got with this brand new stadium. The size of the Jumbotron, the uniforms, you have that too. D-Day, there was an actual discourse among the Bills Mafia about urinal troughs, where apparently in the bathrooms, they no longer have the urinal troughs. They have like the stalls and then the separate standing urinals. And Bills fans got mad at that, saying, generationally, at the old stadium, this is the way we would build community. This is the way my dad peed and the way his daddy peed. And this is more efficient, and we're going to have to wait in line longer. This was a real debate, real conversation. People were mad about the urinal troughs.
How do you bring that up? Like, who's the first guy that brings that up but doesn't feel the shame of feeling like, hey, if I say this out loud, I'm going to be put on a list?
No, who's the person who took the picture? Like, there's the picture that somebody posted last week. Go into the bathroom, and he's like, this is going to get traction. Got some allies here on this front. You know, people just like complaining about stuff. But I understand, I guess, the sentiment of the urinal trough. It kind of reminds me of Ashley Schaefer it's Will Ferrell's character in Eastbound and Down, talking about, I saw this moment in a dream. I was making sweet love to my wife, Donna. Little boy walks in. Get out! Get out of here! No! Let the boy watch. He needs to learn the way I learned from my daddy, the way he learned from him. People, hey, connective, generational. I don't know. Have you ever had conversation in the bathroom at a sporting event?
No. I don't. First of all, I don't like talking to people, but especially not in the bathroom. When was the last time you peed in a trough?
I think the Smith Center has a trough in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, basketball. Think they do.
You think, but it's not like a part of the. This is an iconic stadium, and we don't know for sure whether or not they have a trough.
I'm pretty sure they have a trough. I've peed enough in the Smith Center to know that they have a trough. I'm pretty sure about that.
But it's clearly
this is
years
not
ago,
judgmental.
It's not top of mind. Like, I know when the last time I peed in a trough was, because I walked into the bathroom and I was like, it was at high school. I was like, surely a high school has moved past a trough, but it was a high school that was built in like the 60s. I was like, what is happening here? I was covering a football game. It was very odd. I was like, someone has clearly gotten bullied beyond repair in this.
Yeah, sounds about right. There is a preseason game tonight, D-Day, that we just need to hit on to say we did it. This is what we call checking the boxes. Bucks-Jets is tonight's won't even try to sell you on it game. Not even going to try. If you can find something redeemable or interesting from this game, let us know. Would love to hear about it. Might even be good fodder for Free For All Friday in just a few minutes. Here are the starting quarterbacks in this matchup, D-Day. Connor Bazelak, nailed it. and Bailey Zappi. That was the quarterback matchup. In case you're curious, the New York Jets, we had a tie last night. Let me see what this one ended up at. We had, don't even know why I'm reading the final scores of these games. Tampa Bay 24, New York Jets 16. Huh? At least the Jets played Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. Wilson had a couple of catches. Breece Hall had 4 carries. But every day of preseason, you're bound to have games like this. That even the most talented sports talk hosts like yours truly won't be able to make interesting. I can't sell you a turd here. Can't do it. Like last night, it was Texans-Chargers. Nothing about that was interesting. Sorry, just not. Forecasting tomorrow's slate can already identify the games. There are 3 games that are expected to feature minimal starters, and those games are Jags-Saints, Eagles-Ravens, and Cowboys-Seahawks. You can have all 3 of them. Honestly, D-Day, this would be, you know how you have those fantasy football punishments that people do when they lose their league? I wonder if there's a way, like if somewhere these preseason games are archived, or if there's a way to save them. And a punishment could be that somebody has to like stream themselves, like go live on the internet or on Instagram or whatever, and sit down and watch a full preseason football game with no starters involved. Like, just sit there and you got to watch. Let the boy watch. Jets, Bucks, 24-16. Or Texans, Chargers, and you don't recognize any of the players that are in this game. That would make for a pretty good punishment.
Would you rather do that as a punishment or have to listen twice, front to back, Pat McAfee's album?
Wow. Now we're on it. I don't know. Click Clack was kind of a banger. Just saying. Free for All Friday has arrived. It's the 1 hour per week. You get to steer the ship in whatever direction you please. Call us now, 310-840-4910. Free for All Friday begins next.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
It's Free for All Friday. You steer the ship. Any questions, any topic. Call us now. 310-840-4910. Here's Josh Graham for Westwood One Sports Night.
A week ago, I was at Margaritaville enjoying a loaded land shark. Wish I had one of those right about now, because Free for All Friday is here this hour. And this hour only, you get to steer the ship. 310-840-4910 if you want in on the show. That was at the Wyndham Championship. Really cool story to see Michael Brennan win from right down the road. Part of the prestigious Wake Forest golf family. And a year after Cameron Young won the Wyndham, he does to cap the PGA Tour regular season. That was a lot of fun. 310-840-4910. You get to steer the ship in whatever direction you please. It might be football with preseason action, or maybe it's even golf. Let's go to David in Buffalo to get us started. David, you're on Westwood One Sports Night. You're on Free for All Friday. You're up first. Let's make it a good Free for All Friday phone call. Where are you steering the ship?
What's going on, Josh? It's been a long time, man. Good to talk to you again. Huge golf fan. I work in the business myself, so I want to talk about Scotty Scheffler here. I think if you look up the word consistency, Scotty Scheffler's name, picture is going to be next to that for eternity. I've never seen a guy so consistent outside of Nicklaus and Tiger. I mean, this guy every
Well,
week.
hold one second. Right now he's in the lead at 11 under par, but he hasn't won since the first event of the year. He actually hasn't had a great year, and his missed cut or his made cut streak ended, and he didn't have a great, forget what major it was, the PGA Championship. He didn't finish outside, or he finished outside the top 10. Like, obviously it's a high standard we're setting for the guy, but even in his less consistent year, you could still say things like, man, the guy is pretty dominant.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at more from a big picture standpoint. I mean, him not playing at his best is still incredible golf, and it just shows how consistent he is, you know, compared to the rest of the PGA Tour, where a guy like Rory is having, besides the Masters this year, Rory hasn't played great. And you can see the discrepancy between Scheffler and the rest of the tour and the consistency that he brings week in and week out, the work ethic that this guy has. I mean, yeah, he's only won once this year, and by, like you said, his lofty standards, it's so high in what people expect of him. But I think, Josh, if he can go win the FedEx Cup, he'll win Player of the Year, because you look at these other guys that are up there, Fitzpatrick, Cam Young, Goddard, these guys have all had really good years, but besides their wins, they don't have as many high finishes as Scheffler. So it shows that even though he's not playing his A-plus game, when he plays his B-plus, A-minus game, he's still in the hunt, and that's the mark of a great player, a lot like Nicklaus and Tiger.
Yeah, I hear you. Appreciate the call. Love talking golf. It's good to hear from you in Buffalo. David, 310-840-4910 if you want in on Free For All Friday. Mr. Positive, this is a reminder. We crown a caller of the night for Free For All Friday each week. And Mr. Positive was our winner last week. He's back to defend his title. Mr. Positive, where are you steering the ship?
To my warriors, as I explode through your radio dial and shock you with a dose of positivity. Remember, embrace your passion, jump in with both feet, then all of your problems will forever retreat. Warriors, people don't want you to succeed. Don't let them win. Rage against the dying of your dreams. You have to fight like hell. And lastly, when you're at the gym working out, please do not be on a piece of equipment, a machine, sitting there with your phone, texting while people want to work out. Listen to me. Damn it, listen to me. Work out. Go for your dreams, because if you don't go for your dreams, you'll be a failure. And Mr. Positive says you are not a failure. Boom, shakalaka.
There you go. Mr. Positive delivering there on Free For All Friday. That's a perfect example of what a Free For All Friday call can be. 310-840-4910. There's the bar. See if you can meet it. Do want to talk about some preseason football. Looking ahead to the Saturday slate that we have in front of us, the quarterback 2 battle is real with the LA Rams. Stetson Bennett is going to start in Kansas City, not Ty Simpson. This is noteworthy considering Simpson was surprisingly taken in the first round back in April. He's the only, the Rams have made in the last decade 2 first-round draft picks. They are team, captain, bleep those picks. And you do that because you think a lot of them. But not enough to surpass the 4th-year pro in Bennett, who was an older draft pick coming out of Georgia. Stetson Bennett is going to turn 29 in a couple of months. How old is that? That makes him older than guys like Jalen Hurts and Justin Herbert, who were drafted years before him. With MVP Matthew Stafford obviously sitting out of the preseason, Sean McVay doesn't play starters in the preseason, you should expect that Stetson Bennett and Ty Simpson get all the reps against the Chiefs. The Chiefs are not going to play Patrick Mahomes coming off the injury, but generally, Andy Reid plays starters. And they're expected to go, much to the chagrin of star defensive end Chris Jones, who said this after practice.
Why play the starters? I mean, it's so much risk you're taking to play the starters at preseason. I hope Coach Reid be like, you know what, starters don't play. But also it's getting reps, repetition. We've been playing against each other. It's good to get repetition, but I don't want to play preseason. I'd rather not play, but if I do have to play, I'm going to buckle up.
Gonna buckle up. I don't want to play preseason. Ty Simpson is the whole appeal of watching the game, though. While the surprise of his selection at 13 was the story of the NFL draft, there are reasons to really like him as a prospect. There really are. Like, a lot of people knocked it, but this might be an example of people not watching college football closely during the regular season, maybe just paying attention when the playoff arrives, and he got hurt and knocked out of the blowout loss against Indiana. That was in the Rose Bowl. But going into mid-November, if you look at betting odds at the time, Ty Simpson was the betting favorite to win the Heisman. That's how well he was playing. Alabama was on an 8-game winning streak, but over the final 2 months of the season, something happened. Ty Simpson was clearly dealing with injuries. He'd never made excuses about it, never really talked about it publicly, but pretty clearly his performance was affected. Alabama, unlike what we were used to with Saban there, didn't have a strong O-line, didn't have any kind of a run game, so DeBoer really leaned on him perhaps too much. The Rams' 3 preseason games, it might be the only live action we get to see Simpson this year, so that magnifies the snaps for a guy taken so high in the draft. Also, no QB2 battle across the league matters more than this one. The Rams, they are the biggest preseason favorites we've seen in the league in nearly a decade. They're one of the 3 biggest favorites we've seen in the NFL this century, which means it's kind of important who might be one snap away from being given the keys to the car at the most important position in sports. Plus, Matthew Stafford's pushing 40. He's had injury history in the past. That adds extra emphasis on QB2. It's more than likely that the Rams are going to keep 3 quarterbacks on the team for this very reason. But if Simpson's preseason performance is strong and he outplays Simpson by a wide margin, that's the way that changes. The Rams say, hey, well, we can add a 53 at another position and just keep these 2 quarterbacks. The QB2 battle is real in L.A., and Stetson Bennett starting the first preseason game. It might tell you, as the Rams play in Kansas City, it might tell you that he has the edge over the first-round draft pick, Ty Simpson. 310-840-4910 if you want in. Continuing with Free For All Friday. Phone calls here. Let's go to Johnny. He's in Atlanta. Johnny, where are you steering the ship?
What's going on? I'm going to steer in 2 directions, but I'll make it quick. My first direction is towards the NFL preseason, my Falcons. Terrible showing. Terrible showing. So next Monday, I want Cooper Rush up out of here, and we need to trade for Anthony Richardson. And then the second way I'm steering it down a long road, let's go ahead and steer it towards the NBA television watch. Because they showing so much disrespect. Because the 3 biggest moves that happened this offseason was LeBron going to Philly, Jaylen Brown going to Philly, and Giannis going to Miami. So how is Philly got 34 games in the on television? OKC,
National
San Antonio,
TV.
New York, National TV, San Antonio, New York. And instead of giving it to Miami, you don't give it to the Lakers. So they trying to say Walker Kessler signing was more important than a Giannis trade?
No, they're not saying that. They're not saying that, Johnny. Johnny, they're saying it's the Lakers. It's the Lakers. Do you think the Dallas Cowboys are going to get less national TV games if they're not good? No, it's the Cowboys. They're going to put the Lakers on primetime no matter what, man.
Well, but still, that's Giannis. So you trying to say that Walker Kessler, Luka Doncic, and the other guy is better than Bam, 83? That's funny. I still laugh at every time I say that. I'm still laughing every time I'm saying that little 83. All right, but that's my take,
Johnny,
man. Y'all have a nice.
Love it. Appreciate the call from Atlanta. Always good to hear from you. Let's go to V. He's calling in from Chicago. V, you're on Westwood One Sports Night. You're on Free For All Friday. Go right ahead.
Hey there. So, one thing about me, I'm a huge design nerd. Like, I'm a huge jersey nerd, logo nerd, whatever you call it. So, like, I don't know if you know this, but the New York Islanders, division rival of the Canes, they launched this third jersey contest where, like, you could design a third jersey and, like, it could probably be your design that makes it. Well, they just announced their finalists. It's kind of disappointing. And I only like two in there, which is like the Navy Lighthouse one, and I know this is going to be hard to describe considering I'm on audio. And the other one I like is the one with the Eisel script, which is I don't usually like word mark jerseys, but this one surprised me. But
how many jerseys do you own, V? Let's get to somewhere else rather than talking about obscure. This is in the spirit of Free for All Friday. I appreciate it, but I'm more interested in knowing how many jerseys do you own? Do you own a lot of jerseys as a jersey nerd, as you put it?
Yes, I do. I own a Buffalo Sabres Buffalo jersey. I have a Boston Bruins Taylor Hall Centennial jersey, which he never wore in his career. I have a CCM Old San Jose Sharks jersey. I have a couple of Canes jerseys, a couple of Hawks jerseys, a couple of Wolves jerseys.
Who are the Canes jerseys? Who are the Canes jerseys you own?
One's blank, and one's a custom Ryan Suzuki Canes jersey, even though he played like 2 games with them. I don't care because he's my favorite player. What else do I have? I have a Peoria Rivermen SPHL represents. And then I have Old Dallas Stars, and then I have Nashville Predators. So, like, I have tons. And a Seattle Kraken one that I got at Ross for like $30.
I like it. Shout out to you, V. It's always good to hear from you.
Thank you.
You do steer the ship to places that we don't normally get to steer it, and that's the spirit of Free for All Friday. So thank you, V. There goes V in Chicago. 310-840-4910 if you want in. Jimmy's in Seattle. Jimmy, you're up next. Where are you steering the ship?
Yeah, Tulsa, Oklahoma Little League World Series team the other day was disqualified, the whole team, all because when he submitted the team roster, one of the players' birth date was listed as being born in 2013, when in fact he was born in 2014. But because of that clerical error, the whole team got disqualified.
Oh, wow. 2013. We're talking about players in the national consciousness who were born in 2013 and 2014. That is quite staggering. Appreciate you giving me the heads up on that, Jimmy. I just posted, by the way, somebody sent me this from my college at East Carolina, where I went to school, a photo of me doing radio things 14 years ago, which would have been before all these players that you're describing in the Little League World Series that starts next week. Our friend Karl Ravech calling that action for ESPN. He joined us earlier. We'll get to watch that next week in Williamsport. Love that Warbuck writes in saying he has 27 autographed different Michael Jordan jerseys, all Upper Deck authenticated. Shout out. Getting the greatest of all time to sign some of your gear. Let's do one more real quick. Justin's in Maryland. Justin, 310-840-4910 if you want in on Free for All Friday. Where are you steering the ship?
Hey, how's it going, Bo? I'm going to steer the ship 2 ways. The first way I'm going to steer it, I'm going to say that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl this year. And second off, I'm going to steer it in the direction of the New Jersey Nets, the Brooklyn Nets. And the Brooklyn Nets will make the playoffs. What do you got to say?
All right. Thanks for the call. That's what I have to say first off. But second off, the Brooklyn Nets are going to make the playoffs? D-Day, that's a hotter take, I think, than the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, right? Like, what is a hotter take between the Nets? Like, you've seen how good the East is. The Nets?
Well,
making the playoffs?
I don't care how good the East is. I've seen how bad the Nets are.
That's what I mean. That's a hotter take than the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, as lofty as that is. The Nets making the playoffs sounds crazier.
NCAA tournament at large. I mean, come on.
Just bringing the takes. How about it? You're welcome to do that. 310-840-4910. Coming up, more of your Free for All Friday calls, plus our show broke a little news tonight. You'll hear that when we continue on Westwood One Sports Night.
There's 3 preseason games tonight, and we're that much closer to the regular season. The Seahawks-Patriots Wednesday night opener is less than a month away.
I'm so excited! I'm so excited!
Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
It's Free for All Friday. You steer the ship. Any questions, any topic, call us now. 310-840-4910. Here's Josh Graham for Westwood One Sports Night.
Free for All Friday continues. 310-840-4910. Think it's anybody's game in terms of being the Free for All Friday caller of the week. Let's see what Chance in Alabama has for us before we get to some of the news that we broke on tonight's show. Chance, you're up. Where are you steering the ship?
I'm steering the ship to what is the best season in the year. And unless you live in Alaska or unless you're in the 7th grade or younger grade than that, or unless you're a school teacher, it is by far fall. Fall is the best season of the year for many reasons. One, because of the weather. Two, of the sports. NFL is God in this country. It cannot be debated. It is the best sport, the most watched sport, and the most loved sport. Fall is such a beautiful, beautiful season for so many reasons. Hockey comes back. You know, I used to love summer whenever I was a little kid and, you get out of school, but my God, anyone that thinks there's a better season and you call yourself a sports fan, you're a joke and you have no idea what you're talking about. Fall rocks. Sorry to all the other seasons.
All right, Chance. Let me think about that for a second. Appreciate the call. I'm going to make a case, D-Day, that spring is the best season for this reason. I have two sports teams that I love dearly more than anybody else. The Baltimore Orioles and the Carolina Hurricanes. In the spring, you get the Stanley Cup playoffs, which you can make a really strong case is the best professional postseason in sports. If you want to make a case for what the best postseason altogether is in sports, though, that's not the NFL playoffs. That's the NCAA tournament. And when does that happen? March. The spring. So you have the NCAA tournament, best pro or best postseason altogether, spring, and then the best professional postseason, the Stanley Cup playoffs, and then just to add icing on the cake, you get the NBA playoffs as well, and opening day when everybody's excited and hopeful for their baseball team. I can make the case for spring just because of my emotional attachments to the Orioles, to the Carolina Hurricanes, and my favorite sport, college basketball, the NCAA tournament, being in the state of North Carolina. Is this a compelling case at all, D-Day?
That doesn't have allergies.
I do not have allergies. That's a good point. Bringing up the important stuff there. 310-840-4910. Chris is in Massachusetts. He's up next. Chris, Free for All Friday. Go right ahead.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Chris, and I think the Patriots are going to win it all. I think they're going all the way. Listen, Tiger Woods, he's a great running back, and Mike Tyson over there in the quarterback position. I think they really just got it this year,
I just don't know why they're better than they were last year. Like, he lost a lot of key parts. It's hard for me to make a case that they're better than they were a year ago with a more difficult schedule.
Good point. I grew up watching a lot of football. Me and my dad used to watch the Patriots when I was little, and I remember they did really good, and they kind of fell off for a couple of years there, but they're coming back. I think that they're doing better this year.
I like the optimism, Chris. Appreciate the call from Massachusetts. Good to hear from you. I hope you'll give us a shout back. There goes Chris in Massachusetts. You know who's from not too far from Massachusetts? Karl Ravech, who joined the show tonight. And doing a quick baseball check-in, some inventory here. Karl Ravech, he made some news with us, and I didn't even realize it at the time. But then after he got done with us, it's like, whoa, he hasn't talked about anywhere the news of the last few weeks with his looming departure at ESPN. And I asked him about it, and this is what Karl had to say about all those headlines.
Yeah, that's been surreal. I mean, I haven't really commented on it much. I think it's sort of apparent what's happened there. I certainly have literally no ill will to a company that's provided me with a life that has exceeded any expectation I had coming out of Needham High School or Ithaca College and the experiences I've had. But there's no question to read about these things has been surreal.
To read about him in the news when you're a sportscaster has to be really bizarre. When you are the story, and Karl Ravech has been that, and the reason why it's been such a big story in the sports media space is how beloved Karl Ravech is. Guy who's just been in our homes with Baseball Tonight and the play-by-play and Sports Center for more than 30 years. So it was great to visit with him. He's in support of our Bull Durham game 2028 campaign that we're leading, and had some optimism, believe it or not, with the lockout that's kind of looming over this season. Looming, that's a word that we've used quite a bit in this segment. If you missed that conversation, it's available on our YouTube channel. Just go to Westwood One Sports Night. You can also chime in the chat as well. You can go on X, Westwood One Sports account, and watch the show in addition to listening to it, however and wherever you listen or watch. Greatly appreciate that. My Baltimore Orioles that I mentioned, diehard Orioles fan, snapped the Tampa Bay Rays 9-game winning streak tonight. Baltimore led 6-2 heading into the bottom of the ninth in the Trop. Gunnar Henderson, 4-for-4 day. It looked like we were just going to cruise, no drama. But then Tampa made it 6-5 with the tying run at second base, and the Orioles having to make a pitching change. They got out of it, 6-5 Orioles, but never a dull moment. Still not in on believing in any way that Baltimore is going to make the playoffs, even though the American League has been so drunk this year that Baltimore currently stands exactly 1 game back of the final wild card spot in that glob of teams that are competitive in that area. The two best teams in the National League meeting in Dodger Stadium this weekend. That's been fun, too, with the Brewers and the Dodgers meeting up. Speaking of Baltimore, let's go to Eric, who's in Baltimore, 310-840-4910. Eric, where are you steering the ship?
Hey, I want to go 2 ways with this. I have a question. First of all, have any division in NFL, has there ever been a time when they went to the playoffs, the whole division? Because that's not, I do believe that the AFC North, there's a chance that they probably all can make the playoffs. Because some kind of way you have Ravens across the whole AFC North. If it's not,
it hasn't happened yet. To answer your question, we've had the 7-team format in just recent years. This is the year you're saying it could happen. That would require the Browns to make the playoffs, though.
And the Browns do have a Ravens coach there. So you had the Ravens all across the AFC North some kind of way. If it's not players on other teams, it's coaches on the other teams.
Okay.
Everybody
Who's
pretty
the
much
player for the
knows each other's
Steelers?
team and-
Who am I thinking of? Who's the Steelers Raven that am I missing somebody?
I was thinking the same thing too. Who from the Ravens is on the Steelers right now?
Yeah, I can't think of anybody either, but I appreciate the brain teaser there. D-Day, what do you have to add?
That actually has happened before, not in a 7-team format. We learned this. A caller called in weeks ago because Linnell was making a very similar point and said in the 1994 postseason, when there were only 3 divisions, you had a division winner, then 3 wild card, and it was all the same division. It was the NFC North.
Okay, so in the new format, that hasn't happened. Okay, that's interesting. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate you allowing us to bring a little bit of a factoid here, a little bit of a trivia factoid. Didn't know that. Going back to the 9, what division would that have been? Like the Niners division at the time?
No, it was the North.
Had a lot of
the
good teams?
Vikings, Packers, Bears, Lions. Oh, my.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, my. Yeah, that when the Lions and Barry Sanders did get to the playoffs before the long drought afterwards. Let's go to Bruce. He's in L.A. 310-840-4910. Free for all Friday. Bruce, where we head?
Hey, Josh, how you doing? Just to clarify, a little clarification on what D-Day just said. He's right about what division it was, but it was not known as the North in those days. It was known as the Central. So it was the old NFC Central, which of course doesn't exist anymore, but has the same 4 teams as the North. So he's basically right. It's just a matter of the title of the. Okay, getting to college football. I think that because of NIL and the transfer portal, that for me anyway, college football is the most exciting sport of the last few years. The run by Indiana in the playoffs last year is one of the most thrilling things I can remember. Not because I'm an Indiana fan, I'm not, but just I love underdogs, and Indiana was one of the worst college football teams for 100 years. And I think the worst for over 100 years, and blowouts over Alabama. Blowout over Oregon, a convincing win over Ohio State in the conference championship game, the Big Ten championship game, and then it wasn't a blowout in the national championship over Miami. But I'm sure you remember, Josh, what a run by Fernando Mendoza. I mean, he was hit on the 5-yard line to win the game, and he bounced off the guy and into the end zone. I mean, it's just thrilling, and so. It's just a few weeks away now, the start of the season, and I'm really thrilled about the start because will Indiana be able to repeat? I don't know. I have no idea. Or I'm anticipating there'll be another Indiana this year. There'll be some other team. I can't tell you who it is. I don't follow 130 teams. There's 130-odd teams. But with the transfer portal and NIL, it could be there could be teams like that every year, every other year. So it's just I find that exciting that the old oligopoly has been broken up.
Yeah, it does seem that's the case. Bruce, I can't wait for college football myself. Love the call from L.A. 2 weeks from now. In my neck of the woods, there's going to be especially a lot of attention paid to college football. Bill Belichick, North Carolina Tar Heels facing TCU in Week 0. That's in Ireland. And a game that was supposed to be in Brazil is now an ACC conference game between the Virginia Cavaliers and the NC State Wolfpack. That's what we're going to get a couple of weeks from now. It's crazy how close the football season is. We made it beginning this weekend. We're able to watch football every weekend between now and February. In fact, in North Carolina, high school football kicks off tonight. In a lot of other places, you've got high school football starting. You got the preseason. It's all here, and we're so excited for it here on Westwood One Sports. Let's go to Barry, who's in Boston. Does Barry agree with my stance on spring potentially being the best season sports-wise?
Absolutely, buddy. 100%. I think the spring is great because think about it. Baseball's just kicking off. You got the NBA finals and the NBA playoffs and the NHL. NHL is my number one, and Stanley Cup is in May and June. I mean, that is so awesome. It's a fantastic, but not to disparage anything that the other guy said about the fall. I understand about the fall and how football is kicking off, and it's fantastic. Everyone's getting ready for the college and NFL football season come, and it's a fantastic time of year. So the fall and the spring are fantastic. They really are.
But here's the thing: like it really is an argument. Here's the other point. Appreciate the call, by the way, Barry. It's like, all right, people say football's in the fall, and you're right, it kicks off in the fall. But what would you say the best football games are? When are they played? Winter, not fall. So if you value postseason more than regular season, you make the case for spring. Because the best postseason there is in American sports is the NCAA tournament, March Madness, spring. And then the NBA playoffs and Stanley Cup playoffs, spring. While the winter, you have regular season NBA, NHL, and the NFL playoffs, sure, and the college football playoff, yes. But don't think those postseasons. I think the regular season's so much greater in those sports than the postseason is. But anyway, if you make the case for the postseason being the greatest part of a season, you have that more in the spring than you have in the winter. Or in the fall, pardon. Up next, the last of your Free-for-All Friday calls in an event you might be surprised to learn is this weekend. 310-840-4910. Keep it here on Westwood One Sports Night.
The Jonas Brothers will be going down under, performing halftime for Rams 49ers in Australia. Will Aaron Donald be on the field, making Kyle Shanahan call SOS? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
It's last call for phone calls on Free for All Friday. You steer the ship. Any questions, any topic, call us now. 310-840-4910. Here's Josh Graham for Westwood One Sports Night.
Last of the Free for All Friday calls. You get to steer the ship 1 hour a week, each week, as the Jimmy Buffett plays here. There are a few things I learned today that I'll tell you about in a second. But let's go to Alex in Michigan first. 310-840-4910. Alex, where are you steering the ship?
Hey, what's up, Josh? I'm going to drop the anchor here in Detroit. Just left the Tigers game versus the White Sox. And,
yes,
man, that
White Sox
Murakami
look
guy, that Murakami is a beast. He's the real deal. To be honest, after we traded Scooble and Mize, I thought like the season was over, but Detroit is still making a push. We just beat the Guardians in the series. It would have been nice to grab a win tonight, but I think Detroit is going to make a run for it, and hopefully we can make a wild card spot.
Yeah, I think I like your optimism because, yeah, they are tied for that final wild card spot. They lost, and Murakami hit his 27th bomb of the year. Going to win the Rookie of the Year in the American League in all likelihood. 9-5, as you mentioned, the game you were at tonight, the White Sox over the Detroit Tigers. What I learned tonight is that the Basketball Hall of Fame induction is this weekend. Didn't know that. They don't promote that very well. The Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. And I learned that among the Hall of Fame inductees, Amari Stoudemire is a Hall of Famer? Doc Rivers as a coach? The guy who's blown more 3-1 series leads than anybody? He's a Hall of Famer? Now, again, they also crown women's players. They crown college players. And those inductees are excellent. Candace Parker, D-Day's queen, Elena Deladon. Mark Few from the college ranks. That's great. The others, Another thing that I learned is that Rebecca Black still makes music. Didn't know this. If you don't remember Rebecca Black, it's fitting I'm bringing her up tonight. Free for All Friday, it's only right that we play, yes, the song that was most watched on YouTube last decade. More than any video on YouTube was this because people hate watched it, Rebecca Black's Friday.
It's Friday, gotta get down on Friday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we are. Partying. Woo! Fire. It's just, yes. I don't know why we play Jimmy Buffett when we have that available to us. But would you like to hear what Rebecca Black, by the way, 15 years old, Rebecca Black's Friday. You want to hear what Rebecca Black's music sounds like today? Here's her latest hit titled Michael.
His name is Michael, and he's got all the things you need. His love is Michael, but what if Michael could be me, It 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 could be me.
Okay. Shout out to Rebecca Black. Still staying relevant all these years later. I'm in the spirit of learning things. Free for All Friday allows for that to happen. Let's go to Bam. He's in Baltimore. Bam, you got anything else to teach us? Help us learn something?
Yes, as a matter of fact, going back to the caller previously that said something about the Ravens are all over the AFC North, and you guys were trying to think of who's with Pittsburgh. There's Patrick Queen, who got smoked by Zay Flowers twice last year. and Deshaun Elliott.
Deshaun Elliott.
So,
Okay. I don't. Was he
safety.
a corner? Deshaun Elliott. What
Safety.
position did he play?
DB.
Oh, he was.
I think
he's
he played
DB, yeah,
safety.
Okay. Gotcha.
So
Okay. Yeah,
looking
Patrick Queen. That's a
forward
good
to
one.
Looking forward to the Jesse Minter era starting up tonight against the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
To see what the new
Yeah.
Ravens look like.
Lot of bench players, no starters for either the Ravens or Eagles, but we'll still give it a look. Appreciate that note. Didn't think about Patrick Queen, but yes, Steelers and Ravens. I like that. Let's go to Chris. Let's stay in the state of Maryland, why don't we? Free for all Friday, 310-840-4910. Chris, where are you steering the ship?
I'm trying to steer the ship back to that Rams backup quarterback talk you was talking about. And
Yeah, I
Spencer
think it's the
Bennett,
most important. I think it's the most important QB2 race in the NFL, and it looks like Stetson Bennett has the inside track at the start of preseason games because he's starting tonight for the LA Rams against the Chiefs, and then you have the first-round pick Ty Simpson. What do you have issue with?
I mean, it's not really an issue. What I would say is Stetson Bennett, I mean, he's pushing 30. I mean, he's had a couple years already where he's had a chance to be the starter in preseason for multiple drives because we don't play starters, and you know how McVay does it. So to me personally, he's probably going to be not on the team, I don't think. I think we'll probably go into the season maybe like Jimmy G was our backup last year. He's a free agent now. So we could pick him up. I don't think Stetson Bennett's going to be in the future plan, so I just believe he's showing out for a new team he's going to audition for.
Well, I get you, but Stetson has to play well enough for you to feel comfortable enough with him being one snap away from being the guy leading the best roster in the NFL. And that's the debate. I think right now they keep three guys, if I had to guess.
And
right
I don't think Stetson Bennett's going to be that third guy. I don't think he's going to be that third guy. If we
no. Well, I'm saying right now, Stetson Bennett's the two guy right now. Ty Simpson has to prove it, has to beat him this year, has to do it in order for them not to keep three guys.
All that talk when tomorrow's preseason game comes on and Ty Simpson gets to get some action, you're gonna start seeing in the next couple.
I love
you're gonna start seeing in the next few weeks that he's gonna be pushing
Chris.
that number 2.
I like it. I would love to see it. Chris, appreciate the call from Maryland because I'm actually a fan of Ty Simpson. I liked the pick when the Rams made it, and it was an unpopular opinion at the time. Emily in San Diego. Think this is going to be our last free-for-all Friday call of the night. Let's go to Emily in San Diego. Let's make it a good one.
Oh, my Lord. I don't know that I can't top Mr. Positive. He is just too much, and I think you provoke him, Josh. You have to. Yeah, you like that. So, no, my free-for-all was going to be a free-for-all of your opinion, first of all, of the Chiefs and the Rams, and what do you think might happen with them? And then also had one other thing to ask you, or to mention to you.
Okay, what do you got?
Well, I know that you love Taylor Swift, and I was just going to tell you that she has started to go into, she started out as country for like 10 or 15 years, and then she switched, but now she's going back to country. I just thought I'd let you know that if you needed to hear any kind of songs like that, you might find her on the radio.
I'm a fan of her entire catalog. Appreciate the call, Emily in San Diego. Yes, if you go back to Tears on My Guitar, you go back to Dear John and all that. Yeah, all about country, Taylor. And country music's having a moment, man. I think I saw, Ella Langley had the long run of having the #1 song on Billboard. And at the same time, there wasn't a rap song in the top 40 of the Billboard chart. And it just shows you that genres, they ebb and flow. Like country was not in a great place 10, 12 years ago. Like the rock country, it wasn't good. But then it ebbs and flows. And meanwhile, rap was in a tremendous place 10, 12 years ago. Today, it seems countries, that's what's hot right now. Beyonce's putting out a country record. Post Malone's putting out a country record. Doesn't surprise me that Taylor Swift goes back there. I mean, Pat McAfee's putting out a country record. Here we go. Every hour, we're going to find a way to mention the Pat McAfee album that was put out today. Yeah. Taylor Swift. I'm still in. Oh, she asked my thoughts on the Chiefs and Rams. I think we covered it with the QB2 race for the Rams, that being the most important QB2 race in the NFL. But, D-Day, just had this thought. Have you looked at these matchups? Do you think this at all when you look at preseason matchups and think how fun it would be if these were regular season games? Like, Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, Rams. I'm there, you're there, we're all there.
I mean, those would be great matchups. I have never looked at a preseason game and thought, man, I wish this was in the regular season.
I'd like to see Rams, Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I'd love, that would be pretty fun. If we're hanging out in LA watching the Rams face Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, whoo-wee, be all for that. Now that Free for All Friday is come to a close, we steer the ship back to the main event of the sports weekend, and we'll tell you what that main event is next on Westwood One Sports Night.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Westwood One Sports Night. Here's Josh Graham.
On a scale from 1 to 10, what is your level of interest in watching preseason NFL action? 310-840-4910 if you want in. The main event of the sports weekend that has arrived is undoubtedly the Cleveland Browns facing the Chicago Bears. 1 o'clock kick in Chicago, 1 o'clock Eastern time. This is the main event. We finally get to see the quarterback competition that has dominated NFL conversation in a live setting. Deshaun Watson, he's going to start for the Browns. Shedeur Sanders going to work with the ones in next week's game against the Buffalo Bills, but we're going to see both in action. And you should expect every snap that these two players take heavily scrutinized. And this tape, it's more meaningful than the practice snaps. It just is. But don't just take that from us. Here was Browns coach Todd Monken when asked by our teammate Linnell Willingham at Browns camp about the weight of preseason game action versus practice snaps.
Well, it's the next step. You have to put some amount on it. It's the closest thing where the quarterbacks understand they can get hit. I mean, no matter how much you're in practice and they feel the rush, I mean, they're not getting hit. I mean, it'll change in a hurry, no matter who's out in front of you, you know, in terms of their understanding of, and when you're trying to stack plays, it's easier to really evaluate how you do per drive, not per play, because you just go to the next play, right? You're moving the football. How are we converting? You understand the issues with lost yardage plays and turnovers. So it's the closest thing we're going to have is the preseason games.
Exactly. Well put. Things that you might not think about but make obvious sense. Yeah, you're moving the ball and you can get hit. It's series. It's not just snaps. That's what we're going to see with Shedeur and Deshaun Watson. And if you don't think that preseason games carry more weight, think about how public perception shifted a year ago when Shedeur had that preseason game against the Carolina Panthers. It changed the way people talked and viewed Shedeur. It just did. This quarterback battle should be decided in the next 8 days. It's the preseason game in Chicago Saturday, the joint practice with the Bills the week that follows, and then culminates with the game against the Bills Saturday, a week from now in Cleveland. That should be enough sample for Monken to make a call. If Cleveland doesn't know who their starting quarterback is going into the final preseason game, they've got issues, either of the good kind, where you have a tough decision to make with two really good players, or it's not good that neither of the guys have separated. As we have reiterated since the spring, Todd Monken should simply play the best guy between the two. And what we mean is, who is performing better at practice? Strip away all the other outside factors. How old Shedeur is versus Deshaun's age, and what year Todd Monken is. It's year one, and thinking about outlook, and the popularity of Shedeur and how popular it would be if he were the starter versus Deshaun and his background, and how much Deshaun's being paid, his contract, and the pressure to play a guy who's getting paid that much. Strip all that away. And remember that you got half that locker room that does not know where they're going to be playing football next year. That's the NFL. They're mercenaries. Either they don't know if they're going to be playing at all or don't know where their next stop is going to be. You owe it to those players who see it at practice every day to play the best guy. Plain and simple. And we're going to learn who that is, maybe even in this game against the Bills or against the Bears. Maybe it becomes clear then. That's why it's the main event of the weekend. The quarterback battle isn't the only reason it's the main event, but it's the chief reason. Based on reports we've seen on the ground, rookie receiver Denzel Boston has been an absolute revelation at Browns camp. Second-round pick, already working with the first team. Remember, Cleveland also drafted a receiver in the first round, Casey Concepcion, who had a shoulder injury a week or two ago. Seems like he's going to be okay. We'll also get the first look at the new defense. No Myles Garrett. What does Jared Verse show? He came back to Cleveland in that deal with the Rams. Going back to QBs, though, we do get to see, we think, the late-round draft pick Taylon Green at some point. Now, this is the college football fan inside of me speaking for a second. I think if you love the college game, there are guys that you have a crush on. They might not play for the best team. They might play for one of the most mid teams out there. But you're just convinced this guy's awesome. And I love watching the guy play. That was Taylon Green the last 2 years at Arkansas. One of my favorite players to watch, a physical freak that I can't wait to see even in a preseason setting watch. So throughout the game, whether it's Shedeur, Deshaun, maybe even Dylan Gabriel as well, Taylon Green, I'm going to be entertained. I'm going to be entertained watching. I think it's the main event of the sports weekend. Do want to give a special shout out. We got Graham's Gambling that we're going to do in about 15 minutes, handing out some picks. This is Westwood One Sports Night. My name's Josh Graham. However, and wherever you're listening or watching, greatly appreciate you doing so. Do want to give a shout out to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Edwin Diaz has been blowing games left and right, including last night. Two best teams in the National League facing off, the Dodgers and the Brewers. It would have been very easy to just do a little flipperoo if you're Dave Roberts. Maybe pitch Tanner Scott in the ninth and then Diaz, you throw him in the eighth. But nope. Dodgers were up 2 runs again, just like last night. Tanner Scott throws the eighth, puts up a 0. In the ninth, you bring in Diaz again. This is why you paid him to do it. But unfortunately, it wasn't clean. You just got to get through the inning. He hits the leadoff batter. You've got the tying run in scoring position with 2 outs. Gets the ground ball he needs, though, in order to secure a Dodger win and to get the save. Sound the trumpets. Let's go to Larry, who's in Ohio. 310-840-4910. Then we're going to go to Commander's Corner, where Denton Day he's the captain of Commander's Corner, trying to use as many C's as possible. We're fans of alliteration around here. Larry, what on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your level of interest in preseason football?
Well, I'm a huge Cleveland Browns fan. I'm not as optimistic as Linnell, but I'm going to say this. Deshaun Watson's a bust, dude. He's only played 19 games in 4 or 5 years he's been here. He got all of his money on the table up front, which should never happen. We gave up 7 picks for that busted a-hole. Sorry. But anyways,
well, you cleaned it up. I appreciate that. I appreciate you not saying the actual word. But, I mean, here's my reaction to that, though. I hear people say that, oh, man, he's a bust. He's terrible. Don't play Deshaun. I hear all those things, which tells me, okay, if he's all those things, then Shedeur should just play better than him at practice, right? And that hasn't happened so far.
Well, we haven't actually played it. You know, they're playing against each other in practice. So you put him in a game-time situation. Like, I'll watch the game tomorrow night or tonight. I'll watch that game. But Deshaun, listen, in reality, we probably would have had C.J. Stroud had we give up those 7 picks to get a band that's played football for 19 games. That's absolutely it's crazy. And it makes no sense.
Yeah, it is. It made sense at the time, but now it doesn't. It's a good point. Larry, thanks for the call from Ohio.
Be safe.
Yeah, there he goes. Larry in Ohio. At the time, well, a lot of people didn't like it at the time because we still had the Deshaun headlines and the stuff with the masseuses and all that was not great at all. And him being suspended and giving him the record deal. It wasn't good in the moment. But the Browns weren't the only team trying to land him. You might remember the Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers were right there trying to do the same thing the Cleveland Browns were doing. It's just that the Browns are crazy enough to go as far to give him a fully guaranteed contract, which is why he's still on the team, you could suspect today, because you're going to pay him that money anyway. Might as well have him out there and play whoever is practicing the best. And you could say, oh, he's terrible, he's awful. Okay, fine. Then Shedeur Sanders should be able to outperform him at practice. And that hasn't happened so far. I hope it does, but it hasn't so far. Let's go to Commander's Corner, left hand up. Washington beating the Miami Dolphins in preseason. Denton Day, you watched, I would assume, every snap of this preseason action. What can you tell us? What did you learn?
Yeah, I watched government-mandated Sam Hartman snaps, so you're all going to have to listen to my review of government-mandated Sam Hartman snaps. Sam Hartman is not going to play quarterback for this team in any capacity in 2026. The big Greek, Ethan Kaliakmanis, the pride of Rutgers, that's QB3. He's actually so much better. It's insane. The man steps up in the pocket. He throws down the field. Sam Hartman, the power of friendship of Jaden Daniels can only last so far, and they drafted a guy that plays quarterback at a higher level. So Sam Hartman snaps going to be done.
How handsome is QB3? Because that's key, too. Sam Hartman, he looks the part. He's got a well-chiseled face. Very handsome guy. Very handsome and flowing hair.
Honestly, he does not look the part of a quarterback. He looks the part of a model, but not a quarterback. There's never in the history of the NFL been a quarterback as attractive as Sam Hartman.
Whoa. That's a take.
Man.
I'm trying to think about it, though.
Yeah, but I say there's not
anybody...
a single one.
Well, Jesse Palmer ended up being the Bachelor. Jesse Palmer was a handsome guy.
You're telling me Sam Hartman can't walk into a meeting at ABC and be like, give me a blank check, and they're like, please.
He'd be the second Wake Forest football player to be on The Bachelor. That's a thing. Actually, 3. I think he'd be the 3rd. I think they had multiple. It's Bachelor U. Figure it out. Get Sam Hartman. Would you watch? No. Would you watch The Bachelor if Sam Hartman were The Bachelor? No?
No. I don't watch The Bachelor. I don't have cable.
Oh. Well, just throwing it out there. So Sam Hartman wasn't very good. QB3, the pride of Rutgers. You got the jersey ready to go?
No. Nice guy,
okay.
though. I've enjoyed talking. I've talked to him a couple times. Very nice. You could tell that he like is happy to be here because I interviewed him once, and he was like, "You want to talk to me?" And I was like, "Yeah, you're like kind of important, buddy. There's like only 4 of you out here. You're like, you're a pretty big deal." He's very nice. Also, we love a quarterback with tattoos on the arm. He got the forearm tattoo. So we love a tattooed quarterback.
Has a quarterback ever done face tattoo? I can't think of one. That might be the newfound ground.
That's actually a really good.
We've had NBA players with face tattoos, like Chris Birdman Anderson had the face tattoos.
There's a lot of NBA
we've
players
crossed
with
that
face
bridge.
Tattoos. I think there are NBA players on television with face tattoos. I'd have to double check. Because like what do you is the side of the neck like where does the
face?
So it has to be on the right side of the ear.
Yeah, it's got to be on the face. That's what it has to be. Is Marcus Mariota going to be okay?
I don't know. You tell me. I'm not a doctor.
I don't know. No, we're just talking about the Commanders game and just trying to keep people abreast. For those who don't know, Marcus Mariota went down.
He is
and
single-handedly one of the worst practice players that I've ever watched. And I'm actually curious, if you're a Titans fan that was around or a beat reporter that's up late and watched Marcus Mariota in practice when he was
Teresa
in
Walker, let us know.
Or Las Vegas, or like wherever Marcus Mariota played. He's a very nice dude. But, man, he like tucks and runs in 7-on-7s, and that kind of defeats the purpose of the drill. There's no defensive line. So the tucking and the running, like, what are we trying to accomplish here? This is practice. If you're going to throw a pick, throw a pick. It's like a joke on the media sideline. Like, up here, tucking and running 7-on-7. Come on, guy.
Anything to add to Commander's Corner?
I'm sorry. Was that Marcus Mariota anecdote not good enough?
No, it's great. I'm just making sure we fully capture. That's all I'm trying to make sure we do. We fully. That's not alliteration. Like, we need to come up with like a Panthers. I'm going to watch. You know what?
Were you just about to growl?
I was about to. About to do that. You know what? Coming up next, Panthers Prowl. Where we'll talk about Panthers Bills, and we'll also hand out some bets in Graham's Gambling. Next.
There's still 2 QB battles ongoing. In Cleveland, it's Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders. And Atlanta's between Tua Tagovailoa or Michael Penix Jr. When the starter's named, we'll let you know. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Westwood One Sports Night. Here's Josh Graham.
Still haven't come up with a better name than Panthers Prowl. Maybe it's Panthers Lair. But no, we like the alliteration. We had Commander's Corner with D-Day. We get to Panthers Bills momentarily. But before we do that, and by the way, scale of 1 to 10, you tell us your interest in preseason football. 310-840-4910 if you want in. We're on a bit of a heater betting-wise. So how about we hand out more bets in today's Graham's Gambling?
Sitting back, count money all day, you know. It's time for Graham's Gambling. Let's make some money.
Let's, because that's what we've done tonight. Handed out 2 bets for tonight's action. We were on the Padres with Michael King on the hill facing Gavin Williams, who's been on the struggle bus the last few starts for Cleveland. 7-5 Padres atop the Guardians in Cleveland. And shout out to Denton Day for convincing me, yes, you can bet on preseason football, and betting the Miami Dolphins team total under 19.5. That wasn't a sweater at all. We didn't sweat that one bit. Well, we did a little bit when first drive of the game, you got Devon Achane scoring and Malik Willis looking somewhat okay. But that's the only scoring the Miami Dolphins did tonight, so that cashed. 2-0 with the bets. Now let's get to Saturday's slate. Yes, we're betting on more preseason football. We are on the LA Rams plus 2.5 against the Kansas City Chiefs. We think competition is going to elevate LA with Stetson Bennett and Ty Simpson likely taking all the snaps. That is a formidable duo for preseason football. No Patrick Mahomes. Justin Fields is getting the start for the Chiefs. You will see other starters, it seems, much to the chagrin of Chris Jones. You'll hear from that. You'll hear from him in just a little bit. But as we learned last night, we don't have overtime in preseason games. So it ties if it's even. So the Rams getting 2.5 points courtesy of our friends at DraftKings. We like that. We like that a lot. Rams plus 2.5 against the Kansas City Chiefs. We're all over that. In Major League Baseball, though, I think a lot of these lines are just very well priced. And I don't see anything that I'm in love with. Even Jacob Mizrahi, they're just begging you to bet the Dodgers. Plus 118 at home with Jacob Mizrahi on the other side. But betting against the Miz, it's just not a lot of fun. It's not really something I have a lot of interest doing. Just for sheer value. I don't like betting on my team. I don't. But the Orioles have played Tampa really well. And it might be because a third of Tampa's roster are former Orioles. Whether it be the newly acquired Tyler Wells or Cedric Mullins in the outfield or their closer who was an all-star, Brian Baker. Kyle Bradish being on the hill for Baltimore, coming off a not-so-great start, makes me think, especially with Baltimore's track record against Tampa recently, I like the Orioles' chances. Plus 124 for Baltimore against Tampa. Not only are we looking at that, I think we're going to do it. So, I don't bet on my team often, but when I do, you should pay close attention. Baltimore at plus money at the Tampa Rays. Baltimore snapping Tampa's 9-game winning streak. Tonight, we say they lose 2 in a row. And as mentioned, we're on the Rams plus 2.5 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Those are our bets in Graham's Gambling. Now let's talk about those Carolina Panthers. Panthers-Bills. This is going to be a sneaky, fun game to watch on Saturday. Like, there are games you probably should avoid where there aren't any starters playing. Bills-Panthers, it's the one game that we have in preseason this week where both teams are intending to play their starters. Josh Allen getting the start for Buffalo. Easily the best quarterback to get preseason reps this week. Matthew Stafford, Drake May sitting out last night. Neither Lamar Jackson nor Patrick Mahomes are expected to play in Saturday's slate. We're going to get our first look of Josh Allen with his new weapon, DJ Moore. Joe Brady, he's said all the healthy starters they're going to play. And to add to the appeal, Carolina, Dave Canales says they're playing their starters too. Apparently, Bryce Young, he's had a really strong training camp, maybe his best training camp as a pro. I want to see it up close. I want to see it in this game. I'm also going to make my way out to training camp when the Houston Texans have joint practice with the Panthers in about a week and a half. Get to see C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young on the same field. Putting the football piece aside, though, the main attraction for Panthers-Bills is actually where the game's being played. It's the Bills' new stadium. This is the first ticketed event in the history of this $2 billion stadium that the Bills are debuting this year. The home opener in the regular season's against the Detroit Lions to open up Week 2. Thursday Night Football, you can listen to on Westwood One, by the way. Last weekend, the Bills welcomed season ticket holders to practice. It was the first impression that many people had on the stadium. And usually when you have stadium reveals, you have the cool features of it making all the rounds. And people are like, wow, look at that. That's amazing. That's impressive. Not with the new Highmark Stadium. Like the impression, they're about as bad as we've seen for a new stadium. Obstructed sight lines, a comically small jumbotron. You have the architect quite literally jumping on local talk shows in Buffalo doing damage control, and the team, they had to announce, they had the race to social media. We see what you guys are seeing. We're going to try to make some fixes in time for the home opener in the regular season. Do stand by this. If the Bills had any sense of humor this weekend, they would wear the new alternate uniforms. That would be great. Everybody's dunking on us for the stadium, and that's going to be talked about, and you're going to see even more videos because of how viral that went last weekend. Because the only thing the internet has disliked more than the stadium being these gray Nickel City uniforms, it'd be hilarious if that's what the Bills decided to wear for this preseason game. The reaction was so strong to those uniforms being announced and introduced that Josh Allen, during a press conference, unprompted, said this during training camp.
And stop hating on the jerseys, guys. I don't know if you guys are hating. I don't know. I don't see anything, but they're great. I honestly like. Speaking of new, right? It's a new look. It is. I understand that, but we gotta be new.
Got to be new. The jerseys, the pants, they're actually fine. Is this a hot take, D-Day? Need you to grade sometimes the hotness level of some of the things that we're saying here. I think the silver, the gray jerseys and the pants, it's the helmet that leaves you wanting more. I think it's the helmet that's the issue.
So when I'm grading here, just so I can have clarity, is an A+ like a good take, or is like the higher the letter grade like the more scorching the take is?
Just like we're asking 0 to 10 what your interest level is in preseason football, I'd say 10 is scorching. 10 is Skip Bayless talking about premarital sex because of that movie One Night Only. That's a 10. A 0 is probably like in terms of being like interesting and moving the needle. Pat McAfee's new country album. Does that help at all?
Well, anyone that says that's good, that's a scorching 10. So I'll put that with Skip Bayless and his premarital sex. I would give your take that the Bills uniforms are nice. I'd give that like a 3. I actually don't mind the helmet, to be honest.
See, that's just the one thing I look at and say, nope, I'm out. Because I think the Bills have a great helmet. I think it's a great logo. And it's a great uniform combo. And if you're going to mess with the uniforms at all, I don't think you mess with both. I think you got to give me either would the helmet be as bad if it's with the regular combo? I don't know. But when you change both, I think I got issues. I think that's when I got issues.
See, you were a colored pencil kid, not a highlighter kid, because it's nostalgic. That little red dash on the helmet is like the side of a highlighter.
It is evidence, though, that people just like complaining about stuff sometimes, whether it's the size of jumbotrons, the uniforms, or the discourse about fans and urinal troughs, like people actually complaining about that. That's a thing that we've seen pop up on the internet. All the more reason to be intrigued by Panthers-Bills. I think I just spent more time talking about the Bills, though, than the Panthers, which defeated the purpose of this being the Panthers' lair. Rah, rah, rah! Do see on YouTube, Kid Cowboy writing in, why are the Panthers playing Bryce in the second game? That's a good reminder that this is the second game for the Carolina Panthers. They had the Hall of Fame game last week. For a lot of teams, that's when you start playing the starters, is the second game. So a lot of the teams that have benched starters for this week, you might start to see some of the guys next week. So since this is the second game, this might be where you see the starters, because Carolina It's not next week that they have joint practice with the Texans. You might still see a lot of starters then. You're not going to see any in the third game. Third game, that's the worst week of preseason. But what makes it tolerable is that's also week 0 for college football. So we don't have to pretend that the preseason games are a lot of fun when you have actual college football games. You might get to watch Bill Belichick get his brains beat in by TCU at North Carolina. See, hey, that's Carolina football that we're talking about. Hey, that might qualify for this Carolina corner that we're doing. Not nearly as fun as Commander's corner, left hand up. But still something that we can do nonetheless in an impromptu way here. Coming up, the most meaningful QB2 battle in the NFL plays out this weekend. Keep it here on Westwood One Sports Night.
There's 3 preseason games tonight, and we're that much closer to the regular season. The Seahawks-Patriots Wednesday night opener is less than a month away.
I'm so excited! I'm so excited!
Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Westwood One Sports Night. Here's Josh Graham.
Oh, is this that new Pat McAfee? This is a song called Cheers to the South from a Yinzer who went to West Virginia. Okay. The album is called The Diary of a Polarizing Figure, where Pat McAfee reminds us, as awful announcing put well today, he is rich and death's coming for us all. There's a lyric in this song, Cheers to the South, where it's written, cheers to the sun, cheers to the moon, let's celebrate life while we have the opportune. Words to live by, Denton Day. The question is, how far does McAfee have to go for the exposure to be too much? Obviously, for some of us, he's already reached this point, but I mean for it to deter him from doing things like this. Obviously, the money is still coming in a way with his show, ESPN licensing his show, and him being on Game Day, and him being on wrestling programming, and now putting out an album. Like, where else is there to go for Pat McAfee? Honestly, that he hasn't been.
Man, you got to start reviewing movies of Pat McAfee. Just wait.
Oh, it's a good point. Like, I don't know if you're saying that in jest, but I've said it a handful of times that when Travis Kelce finishes his NFL career, he's going to be in the entertainment space. He's one of the most famous athletes out there just because of who he's married to now. And I could see him being the star of dumb action movies. And McAfee qualifies as that too. Like, we don't have, in this generation, the last 15, 20 years, we don't really have what we had in the 80s with Arnold and Sylvester Stallone. So why not McAfee? Why not Travis Kelce to be in the dumb action movie that doesn't make a ton of sense, but it's dumb and fun, and we're here for it? We could turn our brain off.
I'm offended on behalf of The Rock that you just said that. And now weirdly Kevin Hart.
What's the best Rock movie? I guess Fast Five, but that's not his series. Like, what is the best movie The Rock's been in? Is it Walking Tall?
Don't know what that
Gridiron Gang? I don't think he's made good movies. I don't think The Rock's a good actor. And I don't know if McAfee is either, but I think The Rock hasn't done these big, dumb action movies. Like, he hasn't capitalized in that space. He would have been a great person to do it, but I don't think he's done those types of movies.
Oh, see, so you missed the meme from years ago. Thankfully, this has died down, where it was 4 separate still frames from 4 separate Rock movies, and he's doing the same thing. He's like jumping from a stanchion to a building in almost the exact same as from like San Andreas was one of them, a big dumb action movie.
Yeah, that's true. He was in that. He was in that. He was in that.
What they're doing to Jumanji is insane. I mean, he did Disney Cruise. What is that?
Jungle Cruise.
My bad. Sorry, Disney.
I guess he was in Ballers. But you're right. There isn't a lot of discrepancy between Skyscraper, Rampage, San Andreas. There's not a lot.
Movies. And there's one other one, but he's like wearing the same outfit. It's literally the same premise, just with different names. Red Notice, one of the worst movies that Netflix has ever put out.
Pat McAfee, big dumb action movies. Let's go. Travis Kelce, let's make it happen. Because again, he's shown us that he can't. It's impossible for him to be overexposed. Because you have the album out here where essentially, do you think that Jelly Roll's about to pull a Jaden Daniels and file a cease and desist?
No.
Because that's what McAfee's trying to do.
I think it's something way more terrifying, which is a joint album.
With Jelly Roll.
The two of them.
Yeah, because that is what McAfee's going for, pretty obviously. Jelly Roll. Or as I like to call him, Yelly Roll.
I don't support the idea. I've read Fahrenheit 451. I don't support the idea of burning books. If Jelly Roll and Pat McAfee make an album, I would support the idea of physically burning the CDs.
Physical media guy. Like that. In favor. Let's get to the NFL action that we have on Saturday. We're going to hear from Karl Ravech in just a little bit, 15 minutes from now. Our own edition of Baseball Tonight, if you will. But Rams-Chiefs, this is intriguing because the quarterback 2 battle, it's real with the LA Rams, and it's meaningful, it's significant, and this is why we should watch this game. Stetson Bennett is going to start for the Rams in Kansas City. That means Ty Simpson is not starting, and that's noteworthy considering Simpson, he was surprisingly taken in the first round earlier this year. That was the story of the NFL draft. He's only the second first-round pick that the Rams have made in the last decade. So obviously they thought a lot of him, but not enough to have him surpass the fourth-year pro Bennett, who was, if you remember watching him in college, an older draft pick coming out of Georgia. Like Stetson Bennett is going to turn 29 years old in a couple of months. How crazy is this, D-Day? That Stetson Bennett is only a couple months younger than Sam Darnold is. Sam Darnold, who was part of the 2018 NFL draft. Stetson Bennett was drafted in 2023. 5 years after Sam Darnold. And they're pretty much the same age. So, more experienced hands. But with MVP Matthew Stafford obviously sitting out of the preseason, you should expect Bennett and Simpson to take all the reps against the Chiefs. The Chiefs, they're not going to play Patrick Mahomes. Still coming off that injury, but progressing nicely. But other starters are expected to go. We promised the sound of Chris Jones at practice not being all too happy about potentially playing. The Chiefs are a team that usually plays their starters in the preseason. Here was Chris Jones.
Why play the starters? I mean, it's so much risk you're taking to play the starters at preseason. I hope I hope Coach Reed be like, you know what, starters don't play. But also it's getting reps, repetition. We've been playing against each other. It's good to get repetition, but I don't want to play preseason. I'd rather not play, but if I do have to play, I'm going to buckle up.
I love that he caught himself at the end. I don't want to play in preseason. But if they want me to play, I'll buckle up. Ty Simpson's the whole appeal of watching this game, though. 4 o'clock Eastern time. The Rams at the Chiefs. It was a surprise that Ty Simpson went in the first round. But there are a lot of reasons to really like him as a prospect. If you followed college football before the playoffs started, Ty Simpson, you can go back and check these things. They have it week by week who the betting favorites were to win the Heisman Trophy at points in the season. Ty Simpson, he was the betting favorite in mid-November. Had the tough loss in the opener to Florida State, but then Alabama won 8 straight games. And Ty was rolling, looking great in those games. Pun intended, roll Tide. But over the final 2 months of the season, Simpson was clearly dealing with injuries. It affected his performance. Alabama didn't have a strong O-line, unusual at Bama. They didn't have any kind of a run game. So Kalen DeBoer relied on him to throw, relied on him to run. He leaned on him too much, and he got banged up. It proved to be too much. The Rams' 3 preseason games might be the only live action we get to see Ty Simpson this year. So it magnifies the snaps for him. But no QB2 battle across the league matters more than this one. The Rams, they are the biggest preseason favorites the NFL has seen in a decade. They are one of the 3 biggest favorites going into a season this century. And that means it's kind of important who's going to be one snap away from being given the car keys to this monster, to this behemoth. Especially when the starter, the MVP Stafford, he's pushing 40 years old. Injury issues in the past as well. That adds further emphasis here. It's more likely that the Rams are going to keep 3 quarterbacks than narrowing it to 2. The only way that LA doesn't keep 3 quarterbacks is if Ty Simpson, plain and simple, just outplays Stetson Bennett. Does so in the preseason games. Apparently hasn't happened in practice up to this point, which is why Stetson Bennett is starting this preseason game altogether. But this is a big deal. It's a big deal. Rams, Chiefs, the QB2 battle for LA being the central storyline of this game. We are live and nationwide right now. You can watch us on YouTube. In addition to listening to us on 300 plus stations across the country and that number continuing to grow, Westwood One Sports Night, Josh Graham here with you. Go on YouTube, Westwood One Sports Night, and watch us in addition to listening. You can also find us on our X page, Westwood One Sports, that has grown to more than 20,000 people subscribing there or following there. You can watch us there in addition to listening. However, and wherever you listen or watch, we greatly appreciate that. Speaking of things that I see on X, D-Day, you saw the new Avengers Doomsday trailer. Is this going to get you to the movie theater in a way that the Odyssey did not?
Oh, yeah, I mean, they didn't have to put this trailer on. I was still going to go see the Avengers. Are you kidding me? It's Avengers Doomsday. I'm seeing both of them the same day.
What's the other movie coming out the same day?
Dune.
I forget. Oh, that's right. That's right. Doomsday. I got you.
Yeah, it's a great pun.
I did promise, and I meant it, that I'm going to catch up on the Dune movies prior to Dune 3. Because I hadn't seen Dune 1 or 2, and I like Chalamet.
It's only like 2 movies.
I know. I'm going to catch up on 2. What if I asked you to watch 2 movies?
You already have, and I watched one of them. I've already done half the work.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It takes some time. You got to find the time to watch the 2 movies.
I did in 3
That's what I'm saying.
days.
I'm going to watch. I might do that over the next 3 days. See, I got a beach trip in the next week or so. Might just fire up Dune 1 or Dune 2.
I haven't
Fire
seen
them both
Dune 1
up.
or Dune 2.
Oh, you and I are in the same boat then.
Yeah.
Need to make it happen. Karl Ravech's status, he might have time to watch the Dune movies soon. His status with ESPN, it's been in the news over the last few weeks. We've got his first public comments on that with us. Plus, more importantly, we'll talk some baseball with him as well. It's a Westwood One version of Baseball Tonight with Karl Ravech joining the show next.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Westwood One Sports Night. Here's Josh Graham.
Hello, Karl Ravech for his 3 decades plus at ESPN. All the play-by-play. Baseball tonight. All the sports centers he's hosted. Which is why we're glad to have Karl with us here on Westwood One Sports Night. And let's actually start with the question we posed at the start of the show. Scale of 1 to 10, Karl, how attentive do you plan to be preseason football this weekend or just in general?
That's a good question. I would say minimally. I've never been one to sort of lean into the NFL kitchen over 33 years at ESPN. I mean, we did Sports Center for so many years. I'll be honest, I grew up in New England, and I was a Patriots fan. When the Patriots fans had quarterbacks like Steve Grogan and Tony Easton, and were not a very good team. I obviously have lived in Connecticut for many years, so have lived through the Brady years. But back at old Foxborough Stadium, we were in section 207, sitting on metal benches, and hoping that John Smith would kick a few field goals and we would win games 6-3. We relied on Hog Hanna, Minnie Mac Heron. We had some good quarterbacks. We had a couple of good receivers, but we were definitely there in the weaker times of what's become a dynasty in football with the Patriots. And so I would say from a distance, would I observe that? We got Little League. We're in the middle still of Major League Baseball pennant races. So I've always leaned that direction this time of year.
And while we're looking at the calendar, Next week, you're going to be calling the Little League World Series that begins next week in Williamsport for ESPN. Your voice has been long associated with that event, plus College World Series in Omaha, which we carry as well here at Westwood One Sports, Major League Baseball.
Sure.
Given you get to see the state of baseball up close, grassroots, collegiate, and professional levels, how would you describe the overall health of baseball in America? Or do you notice differences between what that is today versus, say, 33 years ago?
Well, I think everything's different than it was 33 years ago when I started at ESPN. ESPN was the only game in town. So that's different. The way that sports are covered is different. As a result, there's greater exposure for more sports. So I think the world has changed obviously a great deal in 33 years. I would say to answer your question regarding baseball, the elephant in the room is of course the upcoming labor negotiations. Short of those being a thing, I think baseball is at its best point that it's ever been as far as participation, as far as competition, as far as athleticism. I think where baseball is different than it was 30 years ago, let alone 50 years ago, is to my point, you have all these different outlets broadcasting every football game that's on in America, every basketball game that's on. So baseball was once the number one sport, obviously, in America, and it's no longer the case. But Those that follow the sport and love the sport would look at the sport and think at the youth level, the participation is off the charts. The ability level is off the charts. And we'll see that in Williamsport on ESPN next week. The college game has never been stronger or deeper. The money that's going to be afforded to college baseball players means you're going to have the best college baseball teams you would likely ever have over the next couple of years, or until something dramatically changes in the world of NIL and transfer portal, et cetera. And you could make the case that the major league game, notwithstanding a labor situation, is in the best shape it's been because the players are better than they've ever been collectively. Doesn't mean you don't have standouts like Bonds, and just over the generations of the Mantles and the greatest baseball players of all time, the Willie Mazes. But collectively, I think baseball is as talented as it's ever been.
You noted a lot of the differences between now and the mid-'90s. Obviously, you had the lockout of 1994 and the canceled World Series. That's so far removed for some that they don't remember it at all. What you're going to hear the owners say that so much has changed that you need to do something different, a la implement a salary cap or something similar to it. What lessons do you think, as somebody who experienced it and watched it up close, could be taken from the 94 lockout going into this December?
Yeah, I certainly remember chasing Paul Beeston of the Blue Jays around the streets of New York City and, trying to understand if one of the attorneys whose last name was Ravech was in some way related to me. He was Richard Ravech. I actually had an uncle, Richard Ravech, but that Ravech spelled his name differently than we did. So there was no relation. That's where I really got to know Rob Manfred, and our relationship since 1994 has been a very good relationship. What's changed? Good question. I think the tenets of what the owners want is to have somebody else or some mechanism provide them self-control. They don't do a good job of policing themselves, and you have teams that clearly have bigger bank accounts, bigger safes than others, and as a result can spend more money. And it's quite clear that a luxury tax, no matter how penal that it is up to now, is strong enough to prevent the Dodgers or the Mets or whoever you may want to put in that particular year. But it tends to be the same teams. The Yankees are generally there. The Red Sox have flirted by going above it. So none of those things have changed. You have an ownership group that wants to control their spending and as a result have a salary cap. And you have players who seemingly will have that as the hill they die on and not to have one. So in a lot of ways, nothing's changed. I think the rhetoric is very similar. You hear an ownership group saying we need a cap, and you hear a player group saying we'll never have a cap. How does this year play out? My sense is there'll be a floor, which we've never had before, and perhaps maybe a greater punishment at the top for exceeding a threshold, meaning a tax. I don't know that a salary cap by its own definition or using those words will be the final result, but I think I think that the resolution will involve a floor and a sort of a soft cap, meaning maybe greater penalties as to what they already have, even though some teams may just blow right through it.
Karl Ravech is with us here to a topic that we got earlier today. Major League Baseball announced pushing ahead to 2028 that the San Francisco Giants at Oracle Park will be hosting the All-Star Game that summer. And actually, we're leading a campaign for something to happen in the summer of 2028 that I'm interested if you would support. This week, we got another Field of Dreams game out in Iowa. We think in 2028, it's time for the 40-year anniversary of Bull Durham as a North Carolina native to see a Bull Durham game in Durham, North Carolina. Get the Tampa Bay Rays outfitted as their AAA affiliate, the Durham Bulls, host a specialty game in Durham. Bull Durham night. Does Karl Ravech endorse?
1,000%. As Karl Ravech once acted as Kevin Costner and gave the entire speech to Susan Sarandon in a Baseball Tonight commercial. Yes, I certainly endorse that. And I will say that Major League Baseball has been very willing to take their act on the road. I mean, I have covered several games at military bases. I was over in Korea when we went to a military base for the Korea Games, which were played over there. Major League Baseball has been very, very good, and Rob has certainly, listened to his people, and he's come up with some of these ideas of moving games around. So yes, I do believe in the smell of a woman or the small of a woman's back and all of those things. And all the books that were written, that Susan Sarandon and Nuke LaLoosh and Meat, all of it. Yes, have a game in Durham, North Carolina, and I'm all about the Rays being there.
Got to do what's best for the ball club. In this case, do what's best for baseball. 40-year anniversary of Bull Durham. It's great to have you on video because I'm just assuming at any moment, Karl Ravech, that we're going to see paparazzi jumping out of like your plants or like popping out at some point. I just got to go as a sportscaster. What's it like to have your professional status with ESPN become news, like a news item the last few weeks? What's that been like?
Yeah, that's been surreal. I mean, I haven't really commented on it much. I think it's sort of apparent what's happened there.
Sure.
I certainly have literally no ill will to a company that's provided me with a life that has exceeded any expectation I had coming out of Needham High School or Ithaca College and the experiences I've had. But yeah, no, there's no question to read about these things has been surreal. I will say this, Josh, I think the most surreal part has been the notes of gratitude, the sort of notes of frustration that I've received in the process. All of those things, when you're doing what we do, you never ever think about the impact that you've had on people. And I've been reminded if a 10-year-old started watching Baseball Tonight, they're 43 years old now when this career at ESPN seemingly is coming to an end. That means they've gone through puberty. They went through high school, college. There's a chance that they have gotten married and have children. So none of those things that you are thinking about while you're doing the job. And I've been overwhelmed by the support. And the career doesn't happen, without the viewer, without the consumer. So I'm incredibly grateful for the fact that all of these people have willingly let me into their rooms. And we would joke because Baseball Tonight was on in the East at 10 at midnight. You've also let us into your bedrooms. I mean, you're in bed watching this show and being put to sleep by it. So in a lot of ways, it's a very intimate relationship when you're not thinking about that because you're sitting in a studio with Harold Reynolds or John Kruk or Peter Gammons or any of the other 100 analysts that you've sat next to. So I'll be honest with you, that part has been so overwhelming and gratifying and heartwarming. That's really the sort of overriding emotion that I have at this point, and can't wait to get to the Little League World Series because it's obviously the event that I think most people associate me with. At least it's got a baseball in it, and they know it's long been my favorite event for every reason people love the game of baseball. That is why I love the game of baseball. It's represented in the Little Leaguers, and to get a chance to do it one more time and to share that with all the people that watch and the people who work with me, I couldn't ask for a more welcome opportunity.
We're just gracious to have you, Karl. Thank you so much for doing it. And we look forward to watching you in Williamsport and hope to visit with you more often here at Westwood One as well. Karl Ravech, really do appreciate the time.
Thanks very much for having me. We'll look forward to doing it again.
And what we appreciate is the candor as well in talking about his looming departure at ESPN and how those headlines have surfaced. And he's right. He hasn't really talked about it anywhere else. So appreciate him being with us. 310-840-4910. Last call for phone calls telling us your interest level in preseason football. Like on a scale from 0 to 10, 1 to 10, your interest level in preseason ball. You could chime in via, you could just write in the comments on the YouTube chat a number if you don't want to call us at 310-840-4910. Do see that Pine Needle writes in, hello from the rooftop bar outside of Oracle Stadium in San Francisco. What are we being about today? Well, we're just talking with Karl Ravech. It even brought up Oracle Park a short while ago, saying that, hey, congrats to Oracle Park for getting the 2028 Major League Baseball All-Star Game. That's what we learned. I think it's 2027 they go to Wrigley. Is that right? And then there are the likelihood. Yeah, it's Wrigley next summer. 2029, you have Bob Nightingale saying that it's likely to be held in Toronto. 2030, likely to be in Baltimore. Camden Yards has not hosted the All-Star Game since the first year of Camden Yards' existence, more than 35 years ago, or more than 30 years ago. So that'll be fun, the All-Star Game. There is something we haven't talked about. We'll get to the football in just a second, get back to it. Didn't get a chance to visit my Free-for-All Friday topic. You know how Free-for-All Friday, you get the chance to steer the ship in whatever direction you please, and it might be in unusual places. But where I wanted to steer the ship was talking about this movie, One Night Only. See, D-Day, we scratched the doomsday itch, and even the doom itch as well. But this movie, One Night Only, is dominating conversation this week to the point where you've got Skip Bayless and his wife on video talking about their thoughts on premarital sex. Why? Because the premise of this movie is kind of like The Purge. One day per year, premarital sex is legal. That's the movie. One Night Only. Now, here's what's interesting. It's rated R, as you might expect, but apparently, I haven't seen the movie yet. An observation I was told by someone who did see it, there isn't a lot of nudity. There isn't a lot of sex on screen in the movie. And what I find interesting, D-Day, is that this apparently is a generational difference. That in the 80s and 90s, and even early 2000s with the comedies too, with Old School and The Hangover and, fill in the blank on the comedies, gratuitous nudity in movies, that's what got guys to go to the movie theater. You got people it was like part of the draw of going to the movie. Nowadays, apparently, the younger generation says, no, I don't want to sit in a movie theater while there's naked people on the screen. I don't want to see that. And the movies are following suit. We don't really see nudity in movies anymore because the way that people consume similar content, shall we say to that, is they're always by themselves and they have the access to it and they can watch it on their laptop or on their phone or that type of thing, which I find to be a very interesting societal question. That you have a movie that has this premise and One Night Only, but doesn't feature what you might expect it to, because that would make people uncomfortable sitting in a movie theater nowadays.
So what you're saying is this young generation watches American Pie for the plot.
Correct. This generation has less sex than any generation we've seen statistically, and apparently are so uncomfortable with the idea of it that they don't want to see it depicted on screen because sitting next to other people as it happens makes them uncomfortable. And I've also, by the way, it's not just sex, by the way. I don't think younger people like going to movies that would make them cry in public. Like we talked about Field of Dreams, how that just makes you feel things a couple days ago. I don't think as well younger people are comfortable going to a sad movie. I'm not, the thought being, there's so much on my doom scrolling that's going to make me sad. Why would I go to the theater to feel sad?
No, I thought they liked crying more. Like they seem to be pretty open with the emotions. Not a bad thing. Could be a good thing, honestly. Healthy thing. They seem to like crying more, though.
310-840-4910. Am I off base with any of this? Because I honestly, you just don't even see, you don't see gratuitous nudity all that much in movies at all anymore. It's almost disarming when you see it. That's why, shout out to Jennifer Lawrence. There's some of that in No Hard Feelings that she did a few years ago. But the reason she did that movie is because she felt, hey, we're not making enough comedies like we used to make anymore. So she's like, I want to make one of those. And good for her. She's also the pride of Louisville. L's up. Shout out to our friends out on the Ville, in the Ville, and to J-Law, who I know is listening at this hour. Coming up, we get to the last call of phone calls, 310-840-4910. Plus, we will analyze fervently all the preseason action that we saw on this night. Next on Westwood One Sports Night.
The Jonas Brothers will be going down under, performing halftime for Rams 49ers in Australia. Will Aaron Donald be on the field, making Kyle Shanahan call SOS? This is an SOS. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Westwood One Sports Night. Here's Josh Graham.
Buckle up. 3 preseason games tonight. We're finna to talk about all 3 of them. Did I add an extra syllable in there that I wasn't supposed to add? Nobody tell B-Dot. Be disappointing. It was a terrible, rotten, dreadful day for the Atlanta Falcons. Substitute whichever synonym can talk tonight. Goodness. For bad that you want, and it's going to fit what tonight was for Atlanta. Nobody had a worse day than Atlanta did. Nobody. Starting with the preseason opener, an unmitigated disaster. Offensively, Tua Tagovailoa, he got the start, he fumbled the second snap. That led to a 3-and-out. His second series, 5 plays and out. O-line didn't give him much time to throw. Defensively, the Falcons starters, they played in this game. Allowed Denver to score a touchdown on the drive. Jared Stidham was at quarterback. Bo Nix still recovering from the injury. And when Stidham left the game, Denver was leading 24-0. The Broncos had rolled 212 yards of offense on the first 4 drives. The game ended 27-7, and to add insult to injury, Atlanta's old rival, remember all the years that Sean Payton spent in New Orleans, Sean Payton, now the head coach of the Broncos, halftime doing an interview, was literally cracking jokes about Falcon fans or the lack thereof in the ATL.
And, yeah.
Coach, thank you. We know you win here in Atlanta, and it looks like you're going to continue that streak.
People dressed up as empty seats today, so anyway.
Thanks, Coach.
A lot of people dressed up as empty seats. Honestly, at that point, D-Day, if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan who's decided, with my night, I'm going to go watch preseason football, and it's 24-0, I'd like to know more about the people that are still in the stands. Shout out to the real ones.
Especially in Atlanta. Like there are a lot of things to do around those parts.
Like what?
Strip clubs, Josh. A lot of those.
Oh, I thought you were going to say chicken wings. Lemon
you can get
pepper.
chicken wings at strip clubs.
I venture to say, I don't know this to be a fact. I just know it to be true, though. I don't think I can prove this with verifiable evidence. But I bet we are the number one talk program in the country from people leaving Magic City. I think we are number one. In fact, if you have been to Magic City this evening, love to hear from you in the ATL. 310-840-4910. Last call for phone calls, by the way. I guess that applies to any of the fine exotic establishments across this great country. Like Houston, shout out to you. They got a number of those places, too, of note. If that's how you spend your Friday evening, 310-840-4910. We're here for you. The worst news for the Atlanta Falcons was not this game, though. That's not the reason why today was a very, very, very bad day for Atlanta. The worst news was that their edge rusher, James Pierce Jr., hit with an 8-game suspension. This stems from a domestic violence arrest in February. He won't appeal it. This suspension, thus the 8 games. It's final. It's locked in. For those who don't know, James Pierce Jr. led Atlanta with 10.5 sacks. In fact, he led all rookies in sacks, too, by 5 sacks. He had 5 more sacks than the next closest rookie. That next closest rookie, also an Atlanta Falcons first-round draft pick from last year, Jalen Walker. Jalen Walker, we learned a few days ago, lost for the season with an ACL tear. So the Falcons are down their top 2 pass rushers. So all is not well in the ATL. There is good news, though. At least the Falcons are in the NFC South, a division that they finished in a 3-way tie for first place in. Continues to be a gettable division. If Tua isn't the answer, Michael Penix Jr., he's close to returning. You can mock those options, but you clearly prefer one of those two over a guy like Cooper Rush as an alternative. Cooper Rush, 2 interceptions tonight, including a pick 6. And also, don't forget that Kevin Stefanski and Tommy Rees, they are upgrades over Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson as the head coach OC duo. And the management couldn't be much worse than what Terry Fontenot was. So, brighter days, they are ahead in Atlanta. Commanders, Dolphins. Marcus Mariota goes down. That's a headline. Jaden Daniels not starting in this game tonight. Commander starters not really going. Were there any Commander starters that played in this game, Denton Day? Going to Commander's Corner?
Sonny Styles played in the game, but that was more just to get comfortable with the green dot and calling plays on a defense.
Cool. That's cool. Special shout out to Malik Willis. Special shout out to Devon Achane. Those guys, hey, the Dolphins scored with their first team offense. Did that. It's the only scoring they did the entire night. Malik Willis, 4 of 5, 43 yards passing. Devon Achane had a touchdown run. 20-7, Washington wins the game. Speaking of looking good, Sam Hartman. Not the way he played on the field, but the way that he just looks. Denton Day, the contention that he might be the most handsome quarterback to have ever played football before.
In the NFL, definitively, yeah. Like a no-brainer. Let me put a caveat.
Is it a different answer? Is it a different answer in the college game? Is there like a handsome quarterback that you're thinking of? Like, oh well, it's NFL,
well, I mean,
clearly.
I don't know. I didn't scout every college quarterback or every high school quarterback or every movie quarterback. Okay. You know, you put Gosling on a film, and you know Sam Hartman might have competition. I guess he played corner, not quarterback. But also the caveat is all natural. Like, sorry, Tom Brady, but whatever you got going on in that face of yours disqualifies you. Didn't do the trick anyway, but it disqualifies you.
Jimmy G.
I'm taking Hartman. Hartman has more versatility with the hair.
Jimmy G versus Sam Hartman on the hotness scale. This is
also Jimmy
very
G has
difficult.
no tattoos, so that automatically knocks him down. You got nothing you're passionate about to put on your body for forever? Yuck.
Trying to think if anybody else can compete in this category, in this weight class that we've elevated here. I see people suggesting Mark Sanchez. I don't think that's very hot now. I don't think so. 310-840-4910. We're covering a lot of ground with each of these preseason games. Atlanta, we hit on Magic City. Commanders, Dolphins, we're hitting on Sam Hartman's hotness level. Bucks, Jets, I won't even try to sell you on this game. This is the game where I say no mas. This is the part where I accept my limitations because I can't make this game interesting. Not with Connor Bazelak and Bailey Zappi starting. Shout out to the Bucks who won 24-16. Literally nobody playing of note for the Bucks. The Jets played Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. Breece Hall had a couple of catches. Hall had 4 runs. Every day in preseason, you're going to have games like this. Last night, it was Texans-Chargers. Look at it tomorrow or Saturday slate. You're talking about Jags, Saints, Eagles, Ravens, Cowboys, Seahawks. Minimal starters playing in all those games. That would make for a good punishment, though. If we could find a way to record one of these preseason games, and then somebody loses their fantasy league and they have to sit there on Twitch or on Instagram Live or whatever and just watch a preseason game where nobody's playing, could be a pretty good punishment. Take note of it. 310-840-4910. Let's go to Alex. He's in Dallas. On a day that we've fielded a lot of phone calls, a night that we fielded a lot of phone calls during Free For All Friday, you might be the last of the callers we have in tonight's show. Let's make it a good one, Alex. What do you got for us?
I kind of want to see the correlation between how many people have been to the strip club, are getting Taco Bell, and are listening to the show. Because I think that number
so
is probably
Taco
high.
Bell. See, here's what's interesting. Hold 1 second, Alex. Are you in the Taco Bell drive-thru right now?
I've secured the bag, and then I think a blunt or something. Although I don't know, that's a felony out here, so I don't know if I want to put that out there. But the natural cause of
then you're not.
order of the night.
That's just a lot of imagination being used. But this is a very important question I'm about to ask you, Alex. I seem to remember pretty early on in our tenure that somebody from Dallas called us while in a Taco Bell drive-thru. Is this the first time that you have called us while going to a Taco Bell and grabbing a drive-thru meal late night?
First time. First time, long time.
Okay, well, I guess shout out to Dallas. It's good to have you. What do you have for us? What are the thoughts on your mind as you are letting the Taco Bell nourish your body?
So, I mean, it depends on, I'm going on the preseason football here. I would say the interest level depends on your teams. So if you have, if you're a New York Mets, New York Jets fan, you're probably tired of the misery and you're ready for the Jets, maybe. If you're, like, I'm a Seattle fan, obviously I'm done with the Mariners, and it's on to, what the team's building and kind of the young guys and who the backups are. So it's very kind of depends on your squad and how much you care for them.
Alex, watch out. That ball that whoever hit the walk-off off of Munoz tonight might be coming towards your windshield right now in Dallas. Because that ball, I don't think, still has landed. I don't even know if you know what I'm referencing because you've bailed on the Mariners.
Is anybody an Astros fan still that's not in Houston?
Oh, there you go. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. Alex, appreciate the call. I think it's a good observation that you bring up. And enjoy the what did you get from Taco Bell? Just curious. think we
The
lost
cinnamon twist.
Alex and oh, no, we got you now. Yeah, cinnamon twist. Good. Yeah, got you.
Cinnamon twist. It's got a quesadilla in there somewhere, and then I think the chalupa's already down. So I think that was it. And Mountain Baja Blast.
Yeah, Baja Blast. Got to do it. Alex, thanks for the call. There you go. There goes Alex in Dallas. I've never been a Baja Blast guy, D-Day.
Like I always said, I think the chalupa is already down.
I love that, too. I love that. I love that.
I think he might have partaken in the illegal activity, which I'm stunned is illegal in Texas.
Some
but also
elements.
not stunned at the same time.
Some elements might have made that not a 99%er. I don't know.
I would have thought that
I don't
chalupa
know.
had a blunt reaction in the stomach.
Hey, I do not remember the last time I stepped foot at a Taco Bell or had a Taco Bell. I don't think I have since, I think out of college I probably did. Maybe, it probably is 2016, the last time I had Taco Bell. 2016, latest 2017. A decade.
It was a long time, but I'm in the same boat. I think 2017 was the last time I had Taco Bell.
I mean, there are those memes out there where people say that burritos cost $20. Not at Taco Bell, they don't. Nope. Shout out. And what do you think the percentage is of people that leave the script club and go to Taco Bell and call the show? Because he added an extra element to the game that we brought up earlier.
Oh yeah, if you're leaving the strip club, especially if it's one in Atlanta, a fine establishment down there that has great food options. It's how they keep those with deep pockets in the strip club as long as possible. You're probably not going to Taco Bell. Hopefully you're having your own driver, by the way, too, like an Uber or something.
Maybe it's an indictment on those fine establishments in Big D, perhaps. Maybe everything is bigger in Texas. Let's go to James, who's in Wisconsin. James, you are the last caller of the night. I'm sure of it. What do you have for us?
Well, I just got to say that's the worst call from Texas that I've ever heard. And thank God I haven't been to Taco Bell since 2018 either. But, I feel healthier for it. So, anyway, did I come from the strip club or not? No, I didn't. I never did. But apparently the percentage may be higher than we know about.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Where did you go tonight? Culver's? Like, what are we doing?
I got off of work. I stopped and had a Coors Banquet and a shot of Hornitos, and now I'm just rolling into my driveway. But, yeah, I'm a swing shift worker, so, yeah, instead of swinging at the strip club, I was earning money. But, brother, I wanted to
You're not
put
throwing
in a
your
quick
money
word
away.
for my Chicago Bears.
Please.
From this preseason.
All right, let's go.
Seeing the attitude of the players, and we're getting some injuries. Everybody's getting injuries. That is one of the worst parts of the preseason. But seeing Caleb Williams' attitude and the receiver room attitude, hearing Ben Johnson's quotes, his talking, I am just, I'm grounded but very excited. And God bless the NFC North. It is going to be a great season up here.
And God bless the state of Wisconsin. Thanks for the call, James. It's good to hear from you. Yes, the Chicago Bears, you should be very excited. You should be. I think they're going to win the NFC North, even though they had a lot of 50-50 games last year, a lot of one-score games. But I'm going to be honest. This might be an unpopular thing to say. I didn't love Ben Johnson's comments. I don't like the fact that he's been talking about, we're going to score more points. We're trying to score more points than any team in NFL history does. Because I think Warren Sharp had the stat where he looked at the teams that scored the most points, teams that average more than 30 points a game. And none of them have won the Super Bowl. Turns out that puts a lot of stress on your defense. And then, all right, late in games, rather than trying to milk clock, is that on your mind with the way that you're trying to call plays? You're not trying to win games. One of your goals is to score more points than anybody has in NFL history. I'm just not a fan of it. And certainly if that's something you think and that's something you think motivates your team, I don't know if that's something that helps publicly saying those things out loud either. At any rate, great night of calls. Appreciate everybody chiming in. let's close out the program by putting this show to bed. D-Day, what do we got and put it to bed?
You thought we were done talking about this? We are not. A new Avengers trailer dropped. We're going to pick it apart, review it, have some fun with it to close the show.
There's still 2 QB battles ongoing. In Cleveland, it's Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders. And Atlanta's between Tua Tagovailoa or Michael Penix Jr. When the starter's named, we'll let you know. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Westwood One Sports Night. Here's Josh Graham.
2 orders of business to close things out. First off, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, our podcast. That all helps us out a great deal. Before we put this show to bed, we need to crown a caller of the week for this week. Coming in hot, talking about seasons. Here's Chance from Alabama. Chance, you're up. Where are you steering the ship?
I'm steering the ship to what is the best season in the year. And unless you live in Alaska or unless you're in the 7th grade or younger grade than that, or unless you're a school teacher, it is by far fall. Fall is the best season of the year for many reasons. 1, because of the weather. 2, of the sports. NFL is God in this country. It cannot be debated. It is the best sport, the most watched sport, and the most loved sport. Fall is such a beautiful, beautiful season for so many reasons. Hockey comes back. You know, I used to love summer whenever I was a little kid and, you get out of school. But, my God, anyone that thinks there's a better season and you call yourself a sports fan, you're a joke and you have no idea what you're talking about. Fall rocks. Sorry to all the other seasons.
I don't think he's sorry. I also advocate for spring over fall, but I understand his take. Thought it was hot enough. People were reacting via phone call to it. Now, let's put this show to bed with Denton Day.
We got to talk this Avengers trailer. If you weren't
Let's
on
do it.
board with Doomsday, this one might have gotten you hooked. There's one line in particular, Josh, that got me all hot and bothered under the collar. This is from the trailer that was released earlier today.
Hell answers to me. For I am Doom.
To quote Brett Bielema, that is borderline erotic. Music to my ears. We get a real Doctor Doom, and hell answers to me. I mean, come on, dude. It's amazing.
So that is Robert Downey Jr.
Yes. Question mark. There's a theory.
Why question mark?
There's a theory that's buzzing that the Robert Downey Jr. thing has been a pump fake.
That it's not real?
That he's in the movie, but it was a swerve just to gain attention, and then for it to be another actor that is playing Doctor Doom. I don't know that I believe it. I don't think they would.
So this is a way to get Iron Man back somehow?
Something like that. I don't. The theory kind of falls apart. It falls all over itself a little bit because, like, why would they have gone through all of this? Doctor Doom doesn't need a pump fake. He's the best Marvel villain they've ever had in the comic books, so like they don't need all that. So I don't really believe that, but that was the Latvian accent of Robert Downey Jr.
Is that a hot take, what you just espoused? That Doctor Doom is the best Marvel villain?
No. God, no. That's like
Then why is it taking this long?
Well, so they did Doctor Doom in a Fantastic Four movie in 2004. Movie didn't go well. They did Doctor Doom again in the second Fantastic Four, like the reinstallment where it was like Michael B. Jordan, Miles Teller. Somehow that went worse. so they paused it for a little bit. They reset with Thanos, and Thanos was a great character, but Thanos also was in like he's a Marvel original, but he's not. He's based off of Darkseid in the DC comic book universe. They kind of stole it. That's what all these comic book companies steal things from each other. So they waited for Doctor Doom because they were going to wait longer. It was supposed to be Kane the Conqueror, and then Jonathan Majors got messed up.
Do you watch Doomsday before Dune on December 18th or the other way around?
Doomsday, probably. If it wasn't clear, I'm a little into the Marvel stuff.
No, I can tell. I like it. I like the passion. I like that you're bringing it. And you're bringing it with heat. That's what I'm here for. Love the passion. Make sure if you're around, you catch Linnell Willingham, 8 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Westwood One Sports Night. You catch me in the afternoon, 4 to 7 p.m. I'm going to be on right after the Cleveland Browns preseason game ends. And Panthers-Bills. So a lot of football in store later in the day. Appreciate everybody. This has been Westwood One Sports Night.
This is Westwood One Sports.